Oh, lots of snacks. Okay, welcome. Thank you for being here. It is Thursday, April 18th, 2024. It's our regularly scheduled school board meeting for the month of April. We are reconvening in open session. It is 6:05 PM. Jeremy, could we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Carnation.
Here.
Trustee Adams.
Yeah, here.
Trustee Vice President Ahmad.
Here.
And Student Trustee Meadowgraves.
Here. Thank you. And now we have the flag salute. If we could all rise. Led by Meadowgraves.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving to item 2.3, report out of closed session in the consideration of student readmission case number 021623. Do I have a motion on readmission?
I would move that we accept the recommendation for readmission.
And I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving on to consideration of student expulsion case number 040524. Do I have a motion to accept the findings of fact?
I move that we accept the findings of fact.
And I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
And now moving to the issue of whether to accept the stipulated expulsion through December 20th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the stipulated agreement.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We are done with reporting on a closed session. Sorry for those who you don't know what we were talking about because it's confidential, but we'll move on from that session now and on to the open session items. Moving to 3.1, adjustments to the agenda. I believe we do have a couple adjustments. What are those?
I think there was some adjustments that were wanted by the board
Just on the consent.
on the consent. Did you want to pull,
think-
which one did you want to pull?
Is 4.2
So basically,
being pulled and put into
Yep.
5.1?
Yeah, so I would like to take 4.2 and combine it with, hear it at the same time with 5.1,
Okay.
since they're both,
Okay.
Okay. It's just realize it's I think they should be separate items. Okay. This is specific to a job description. I feel like they should be separate items. How about we maybe place it after 5.1 and then we can discuss what they are and then maybe vote on it separately?
sure, however
That's
we
okay.
need to.
Yeah, let's make it 5.2 and then
Okay.
we can just reorder
Everything else.
everything after that point.
Sure.
Do we have any other adjustments?
Nope.
Or that was it? Okay. Great.
Oh, well, no, we do. We have one table. So we are tabling, which item is it, Pete?
4.19.
Yeah, 4.19. We've got to push off. We've got a little more work to do with CSEA.
Okay,
So that's all, right?
Yes.
sounds good.
We'll bring it back next month, hopefully.
Okay, thank you for that. Now we will move on to 3.2, celebrating success with North Bay Met Academy, presented by Heather Christensen, the principal. Thank you for being here.
Hello there. So happy to be here tonight. Do we have some slides?
Screwing up my one job.
So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Heather Christensen. I'm the principal of North Bay Met Academy, Big Picture Learning. And thank you. Okay. Giving me your job to screw up. Okay. So I also have Shannon Johnson here. She is one of our advisors, and we have 4 students here to talk about their LTIs. But before I do that, I want to let anybody who doesn't know about Big Picture Learning just a little bit about us. So Big Picture Learning is an international organization with a philosophical educational philosophy about relationships, relevance, and rigor, and putting students at the center of their learning. So one of the key components is advisory, where students work with other students. They have an advisor who helps organize their learning. They have learning plans. They build relationships, and that advisor helps them with their LTIs, which is learning through interest or internship. It's where they get their real world learning, and then advisors come back and connect that to their academics as well. So I have 4 students here. I have Alex Holden, Abby Lenny, Ruby Seidner, and Micah Jacobs, and they're going to tell you a little bit about their LTIs, what they have been doing and learning out in the real world. So we'll start with Alex. Go ahead.
All right. So for my LTI, I've done a lot of things with the fire department. So originally I worked with Healdsburg Fire Department for about a year. And then I moved on to the Sonoma County Fire District, and it kind of is just a change because there was a group of people that have the Explorer program here, and it was just a lot better fit for sure. I've gone to the JC and started EMR. So I'm working through the classes to become an EMT and then a medic. And then for my LTI, a lot of what we've done is like vehicle extrication, forcible entry, rescue scenarios, and just learning about, the fire service and how it is. I also did, when I turned 17, I got wildland firefighter certification for that. So I can, go on wildland firefighters, but get picked up by a crew. And then kind of just for the future is just pursue more college classes for paramedic and EMT for sure. And then here, some of the pictures there, that's me working on one of the engines I was working on. And then part of that training that I was in, one of the calls I wrote on, and then just kind of the Sonoma County Fire Explorer, kind of just the gear we have and kind of what we do is on that side too.
Thank you.
My name is Abby Lenny. I've had the same LTI with VIP Equine Services, which is a large animal vet, since my sophomore year at North Bay. I started taking JC classes my junior year, I believe, and I've taken 3 there, which I plan to continue my learning at the JC in the fall. At my LTI, we've done a lot of different things. They're all listed, but my favorite is probably the joint injections and the lameness. That goes a lot in hand with my personal horses I have. I high school rodeo, and so they're all performance horses, and it comes with a lot of lameness and arthritis and everything. And so it's really cool to be able to x-ray and see everything and then go in there and help them in a way that not a lot of people are able to help. Through the LTI, I've been able to take care of my own horses, administering drugs, wounds, lameness, everything, which is really, really cool. And I hope to go to ASU in the future and get my degree in biological sciences to be a large animal vet. And then these are a bunch of different pictures. That's a tooth we pulled out. There's a nose that was cut open. There's acupuncture, x-rays, SI injections. We do a lot at my LTI, so it's hard to capture everything in just these few minutes, but that's just a brief intro. And then that's my outside life outside of my LTI with my horses and rodeo and barrel racing.
Thank you, Abby.
Hello, my name is Ruby. I've been going to North Bay Met since 9th grade, and I've done a fair amount of different LTIs. I've been really focused on writing and certain things like that. I've done some teaching internships through a place called Writopia Lab. I am a junior editor for a literary magazine. I am the co-creator of a creative writing education database with a North Bay Med Academy alum named Boston Rohan. I am an editorial intern at Mind for Youth. I am a youth advisory board member at Scholastic Choices. And I am a member of the Positive Images leadership team. I've also just really focused on getting published and doing a lot of those things.
Ruby left out something really exciting. She is a finalist for the Sonoma County Youth Poet Laureate. Oh, I'm going backwards. Yep, let's do it this way. There we go, Micah.
My name is Micah Jacobs, and I have been at North May Met since the beginning of this year. I've been at my LTI since the beginning of, or actually, I've been at North May Met since the beginning of this school year. I've been at my LTI since the beginning of this year, so 2024. I work, my LTI is at the Windsor Bike Shop. There's a couple other locations, but this one just fitted me the best. At my LTI, I've learned about technical specifications of bikes, bike shop procedures, mechanical concepts, basic operating logic, and how to communicate. I've learned more about relationship-related concepts, how to cooperate with others, work together, be willing to learn, and how to be thorough. I appreciate the opportunity to work with like-minded people. Thank you.
So that was just a little, just a little snippet of what some of the amazing things that our students are doing at North Bay Met Big Picture Learning and the things that they are doing and learning in the real world. So just give a hand to these amazing students for coming here and speaking.
Can we
We have questions?
Oh, yeah.
comments?
I'd be interested, I think Ruby, you mentioned good luck with your poet laureate pursuit. But for those of you who came after you started high school in another setting, I think that may have been the first two of you. Could you talk a little bit about how North Bay Met was different for you and how maybe individually it helped you flourish in a way that perhaps wasn't there with your prior experience?
Yeah, so I'd probably, to speak to that, I'd probably say that kind of just how the community is and how everyone is kind of supportive and how you are for your future, right? It's kind of more like goal setting and it kind of prepares you for like what's to come after, right? So right now I'm going into a full-time job, right? But I'm also going to be on the as needed wildland firefighter, right? So I got the time and, the support to get my training done so I can get that done. And I also graduated early too, so I can get that done quicker than, having to wait till I'm like 20, right? And then I can also go to the JC, go through fire academy and get that done too. So it's been kind of just the support and kind of how everyone interacts with each other is just super helpful and how it's got me there.
Great. Thanks, Alex.
I agree with Alex. I think it's the structure of the school and the people that are there that kind of help you through it. I transferred to North Bay my sophomore year of high school, and I came in like really bad grades. I wasn't on track to even graduate high school at that point. And I went in and I'm on track. I was able to graduate early if I wanted to. I had the opportunity to take JC classes, which I thought weren't even possible. And like my sophomore year, I had no idea what I wanted to do after high school or my future. Now I have like this whole plan that I never thought would have been possible, but I switched to independent study my senior year, which has opened so many different doors. I have to thank Shannon for that because I'm able to have a work life and an LTI life and still have that school structure, which I never would have been able to have at like a public high school setting.
Kevin, say how many hours you've had in your internship, like with the vet, like.
I think I've had over 1,000, maybe 1,800, which I need to have to apply to vet school. So doing my LTI, I've already cleared out all the hours I need to apply to vet school.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Thank you. The reason I asked that before we get to Rich, as you go forward, you all are on such 4 different tracks. Remember people who helped you pay it forward and to reach back and help the next set of folks who maybe need a little alternative route or an encouragement, and clearly you're all flourishing and I wish you well. Thanks for taking the time to come.
This is great. This is the fun part of being on the board, watching the youngins flourish. When I'm listening to you talking that deep old voice, I'm thinking like, gosh, dang, man, you should be a singer. And, but when I'm listening to you and it's fire services, but I was thinking, this is what a young JP, this, I've been here a while, and just like you, he went more law enforcement stuff, but I'm watching you and I'm seeing what you're doing and the route you're going and how enthused you are and you're all in. And I just go, wow, it's just refreshing all the time. I know Abby, she's my neighbor, and I just want you to know those are not photoshopped pictures. Those actually are underwhelming. She's actually even better and rides that horse even faster when they go clicking along all over the place out there. And what's interesting is, I just want to let you know, one of the guys that works for me is getting married, and his bride-to-be just got accepted at ASU, and they're moving down there in 2 months. And so I'm going to hook you together with her, because she's going large animal vets. That's what she's going to do, the same thing. So you might be able to get some heads up on some additional things. And so anyhow, it's a small little world, but it's an awesome thing. And, congratulations to all of you. And, I'm just thinking of the thing that you're in competition for, and I couldn't even spell it, much less apply for it. And so it's just impressive, the whole group of y'all.
Yeah, I'll just say that it's really fun to watch, to see each of you, like what your interests are and the skills that you're able to work on as part of your education, and just kind of how much expertise each of you has in an area while you're students in our school district. It's just really incredible, and we're all very proud of each of you.
I think we would be remiss sitting to my left. You have a tremendously powerful advocate in one of our fellow trustees, as a colleague and also an alumna of North Bay Met, and how people transform when they are there. And so for those of you who are North Bay Metters out there in the audience, thank you so much for helping, and your whole staff and crew. Jennifer, well done.
You got to give a shout out to Shannon, at least. We got to say the name. Because you talk to anybody over there and they all talk about Shannon, how much she means to them and how helpful she is. And just, she makes a major difference in many students' lives. So we never got to do this, Shannon, but I think publicly you need to hear that. I hear constantly how big a difference you make. So thank you.
I'd like to second what Jeremy just said. I think without Shannon, I wouldn't have been able to grow as much. There were countless hours I feel like I spent in that garden, and just connecting one-on-one with Shannon helped me open up enough to connect with the students and truly understand what it meant to be in the North Bay Met community. And that really meant a lot to me as a student and helped me grow a lot as a person. And just overall, thank you for being able to connect with you guys. It was really nice being in advisory with Abby, and never really learned much about you, Alex, but it's okay. And Micah, I'm sorry to put you a bit on the spot, but at the beginning of this year, you were coming to me trying to figure out what certain assignments meant. And it's just really awesome to see you now speaking in front of the board about what you're doing at your LTI. And you're just doing really good. And I want you to know that. And I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
Just jumping on the tail end of Superintendent Decker's comment. Shannon has not just been a North Bay Met wizard and Jim. She has been a Jim for a long time. I know a few Carnation kids that were beneficiaries of her goodness, and we're all grateful.
The kids, not the teacher, it's the kids.
I know those kids. It's the teacher.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to public comment on non-agenda items. Any person may address the board on any consent action item or item not listed on the agenda pursuant to the Brown Act. During this period, the board is not allowed to consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda. Do we have any public comments? Doesn't look like it, so I am going to stop reading and we'll move on to the next item, which is a 3.4 report from student board member Meadow Graves.
Right. This is very informal as we don't have a presentation. There's a slight miscommunication this month, but that's okay. I can wing it. We got this. So we've been a bit disconnected, so I'm just going to go over the brief
few things I know about. We had the every 15 minutes at the high school. And so based on the student feedback I got, they felt that they would have just felt more impacted by public speakers and maybe a brief showing of like a slideshow or a short film. Although they appreciated the sentiment of what was trying to be shown, they felt way more impacted by the public speaker that came in because of the truth and the emotion in what he had to say. And then the wax museum that happened at Maddie Washburn, those kids worked really hard on their speeches. And as someone who spends after school time with them and who spends time with other staff there, those kids have worked, like, just really enjoyed practicing their speeches so much. As well as Zumbathon at Maddie Washburn. And then just a little shout out to April 27th is National Administrative Professionals Day. So in advance, thank you to all of our administrative professionals. We have a couple in the room, so thank you guys.
Thank you. All right, 3.5 superintendent's, does anyone have any comments for Meadow? Nope. Okay, superintendent's report from the dais today, from the podium.
We're doing it. All right, so talk about the Wax Museum. I got to go with my kids. You can see me there with my two girls, one terrified to talk to any of the individuals talking about their character. My other one, very interactive. So very cool, very cute. All the kids, it's funny to watch each one of them because some of them are terrified and they speak in whispers and some of them are like, yes, this is my jam. I want to talk to everybody. So very cute, good job. Also, Brooks had an art day. So if you look up there, you can see some of the pictures. They participated in visual arts and dance lessons with Sonoma County teaching artists from Grupo Folklorico and the Raizes Collective. And you had performers not only from Brooks, but from Cali, San Miguel, and there were also home instruction students who performed. And they performed Olive Oil, which was an original musical by Heather Cullen, one of our very own, who is retiring at the end of the year. I don't know if we've actually shared that with you guys yet, but should be a big loss. But this was supported by C-Star. Here's some big news. So we've talked a lot about enrollment in this district. Frankly, we've banked a lot of what we have done on enrollment increasing, and we're there. So at second interim, yes, please clap.
Yay.
Do it. Come on, Jeff. I want it out of you too. Attaboy.
Let's celebrate
So we are actually projected to be up over 120 students, 123 from second interim projections. That's massive, guys, right? So let's just throw, dollars on that. That's about $1.5 million to the district, better than second interim. Now, I will say we banked on this, right? All of our actions were banking on this, but at least our prediction is coming true. So big news. And just one grade level that is kind of crazy is our freshman class. I'm saying it. I know. Okay, I won't say it. Never mind. I'm not going to steal her thunder. All right, it's a teaser. There you go. We'll let Danielle share that. But big news. This is massive for the district.
Oh my gosh, I haven't seen that video of you before, Jeremy.
You haven't seen that one?
You didn't have any more hair then.
It's watching the Rams play every Sunday, right? Seriously, I think we had a sombering event that happened
Yes,
last week. So
we did.
we're joking about the video, but really we had a scary event. And I think that we need to recognize some individuals that made that scary event not happen, right, potentially. So Sherry Jacob, former student advisor, current workability coordinator, she's an amazing employee. We'll just say that. But I think it's hard to come to work every day and to do the job extremely well in any job. And it's very easy to be walking along and to say, you know what, I don't want to deal with that today, right? Very easy. I don't think Sherry's ever done that in her life. And in this situation, she didn't do it then. She alerted somebody to something that she didn't feel was right, and that was Dave, who's our student advisor. And Dave, once again, instead of kind of just saying, you know what, I don't want to deal with this thing really, I'm just going to kind of sweep it under the rug. He didn't do any of that. He made sure he addressed everything properly. And because of their actions And honestly, their attention to detail, we curtail something that could have been extremely scary. So I won't talk too much about the event. I think we've already done all the communication for that. But I think these two individuals, if you see them, I think we all need to say thank you, because what they did was above and beyond Call of Duty, but they would just call it their job. We got to shout out Diana. We should have made everybody stay, because Diana Rudisil is our counselor at North Bay Met Windsor Oaks, and she got an amazing award. So the California Continuation Education Association plus State Award Committee, they selected her to be honored as the 2024 Plus Counselor Support Person of the Year. So this isn't like a local thing. This is statewide. So they're going to celebrate her. I don't know where it is. It's down in Southern California. I can't remember. Where is it? It's in San Diego. So she's an amazing counselor. She's been with us a long time. She helped open North Bay Met. I've worked closely with Diana. She's really just she's a light. She loves kids. If anything comes through, Meadow, I know that you work with Diana plenty. She loves kids, right? And she's always going to be there for you, and she will give you as much time as you need to work through anything. So Diana Rudisil, one of our counselors of the year. Oh, Grace. What can we say about Grace? Grace has been here for 28 years. She's been at multiple sites. She's done so many things. We could have a whole presentation dedicated to Grace for what she's done for this school district. If you just talk about the grants that she brought in, we'd have about 75 slides just on the grants. But I think that, we don't shout out everybody who retires. We try to give acknowledgement, but I think we've got to shout out Grace because she's here 12, 14 hours a day. She loves this district. She bleeds black and gold. So she's a big loss to the district, but I think if you see Grace, once again, let's just say thank you, please, for all the things that she's done. So Gabriella, she's one of our Windsor High School students. She's a teacher's aide in the English language classes, and she's actually has been honored with the 35th annual Celebrate Community Youth Service Awards because of her service for those students. So she's essentially, she helps, right? That's what she does. She helps those students be successful. So there's winners across a dozen categories, and they get scholarships for their leadership and volunteer work. And it's all different subjects. So she was awarded for her work with our English language classes. So I think, we've got a lot of great things that happen, and we don't honor every single one of them up here. But there's another example of some of our Windsor students doing great things. You mentioned every 15 minutes. Here's just some pictures. It was established in the 90s where it was realized that every 15 minutes someone died in an alcohol-related crash. So this program is a 2-day program. The first day, if you haven't seen it, it's pretty powerful. The first day is really kind of a scene where you see exactly what this could look like. And then the second day is where we have kind of the aftermath, right, of what happened. And we had a speaker, we had a couple speakers, but one who was extremely impactful, sharing his personal journey, which included being drunk while driving, getting in an accident, and having 4 people in the car die because of that accident. And I think that, this is the second one that I've seen. It is impactful. And I think when you're looking at this, not every student's going to get it, but if you get one, right, one student that makes a different decision because of what they learned or saw, then you won. So I think it's a great program. Go back just so you see the chief. So Chief Rosh is sitting. Actually, there's Bill. You're with right next to us. It's a great partnership, and really we don't. Well, I should say we don't do a lot. We do a lot, but in a different way. The police department really kind of they push this through. They fund it. It's not coming out of our funding, and it's not cheap. This is a $40,000 program. Project Grad, this is kind of FYI. If you don't know what Project Grad is, it's just a party. Come on, we all dance like Carlton when we're there. I need more laughs than that. Come on, we all watch The Fresh Prince. Don't lie to me. Am I the only one? All right, thank you. We all done the Carlton at one time or another.
Never. No.
Come on, Rich.
No.
Never?
No.
All right.
A lot of different moves, but not that one.
Fair enough. So Project Grad, it's a great event. I went through it as a kid. It was awesome. It's on the 8th, I believe. Where is it at? The 8th of June. And it starts after kind of everybody goes to dinner with their families. They come back and they have a nice big party where they dance like Carlton. It goes till, I believe, 3 in the morning, 3:30. And it's the mission is to make sure we have sober graduation, right? Back in the day, you know, on the olden times, the 40s and 50s and 60s, graduation.
He's talking to us, Bill.
I am. I'm looking right at you both. I'm sorry. But graduation, then the party may have been different. So what we're trying to do is make sure that everybody's safe on graduation night. And since this was instituted, not a single Windsor graduate has died from alcohol, drug, or traffic accidents on graduation night. That is my update, my report, not update, my report for this month.
Well, your first one. It's like Stalin.
Yeah, well, a couple things. One is, I'm really glad we're doing that every 15 minutes. You know, I was blessed to be able to help support it a little bit. I didn't go. I'm still not able to go to those things. I have too many close things about it. My older brother was hit by a drunk driver when he was 8. He was in a coma for 9 months, and it affected his life. And to your point about Project Grad, there at Emelino, when I went to school, I mean, we don't hear it so much anymore, I think because of things like Project Grad. But there's kids, and I used to tell the wrestling kids all the time, you know, at New Year's Eve, graduation time, and I'd mention kids' names, and I'd ask them, do you guys know who these are? And they'd say no. And I'd say, that's because they're dead, because they were drinking and they were driving. And the worst part of drinking and driving is sometimes the person who was the drinker is not the person who dies. I don't mean it's sad in that regard. It's just, I think you all know what I mean. But anyhow, it's everything that we can do, to your point, if 1,500 kids participated and if just one changed, that's a big one. And it's worth every moment of investment that we all put in to do these things. And so I'm really happy and proud that we as a district, and all those who did all the work to make this happen, it could be some of the most important things we do for these kids. And so I appreciate everybody's efforts.
Thanks, Rich.
So, yeah, thank you. That was really interesting. I think you've raised the bar on the report. I want to go back to the incident at the high school last week. One props to JP Tamayo and the chief you mentioned, but JP had like on the job working with Sherry and Dave doing his law enforcement community resource officer, and then was working 60 hours a week for the 2-day show this week on 15 minutes. So anybody who happens to read the Press Democrat and saw in the electronic chattering class, there was largely kudos, Windsor, the way it was supposed to go. I thought to Heather's, kudos to you and Heather, Jeremy on the communications. And I think people understand now why there wasn't an immediate blast out to parents. But one of the concerns that I've had from constituents and actually from a few students, I think it came in somewhat out of the light when parents were convicted in Michigan for a gun killing, is if we could look and talk to council. And really, friends, this is for, I was trying to do the math, maybe 1/10 of 1% of our students, maybe 5 kids a year out of 5,000, where that student has done something that is so severe. We sometimes in the past, in my decade being on the board, have gone after parents for their parental liability for vandalism or damage to school district property. But to really look to say, knock on wood, should this have gone badly? What options do we have about parental liability for children who are students? They're not really children, I think, when they're charged with 6 felonies, but I'd like us to look at that. I don't know if there's a sense of the board. We don't have to take any action, but would like us to get a sense from school and college legal services what the scope of options are in California. I don't know if they're different from what the law might be in Michigan, where those two parents were sentenced. There was also a kindergartner who took a gun out of his mom's purse and shot his kindergarten teacher in Virginia, both of which had, it was in the news, parental liability. And I just like us to look at that because, we have a wraparound set of services in our ethos in the district to take care of the children and our students and our staff and our community when they're at school. But sometimes these issues arise before and after school. And I just would maybe like if we could look into that a little bit and get some feedback. It might be something that we first hear about in closed session. Just on what options are there. And just because that was an interesting theme from both family members and students at the high school over the past week or so. So thank you on that.
I don't have any comments. Thanks, Jeremy. We'll move on to item 3.6, staff association reports. Do we have anything this week? Yeah. Or this month?
Honest, I'm too old for that.
Throw a hip up.
I get that. Anyway, Jeff Hardy, Deputy President. A few things. Elections are completed. Tomorrow, members will be formed who our new e-board and site reps are. I think they should know first before you guys know, but I think you guys know who they are. But anyway, so before I just make that public. We also surveyed the members, what's on your mind? And so, of course, wages and benefits are always the top concerns of our members. Glad to hear ADA's up. That's nice to know. But really what's on their mind, especially coming into this next year, is overages and class sizes. I know it's in the contract, but it's the third thing that our members talked about as far as issues go. Currently, I'm working with Jeremy and Brian on an idea to better serve students with moderate and severe disabilities. I'm polling a lot of my teachers, my members in special ed, and they seem to be in favor of it. And so I've asked them to branch out and talk to their neighbor next door and see where we're going with this idea. And hopefully I get something soon that we can move forward with to help definitely serve those students' needs. And finally, we all know we have the golf tournament tomorrow. Got you guys. To you, Austin.
I do. And friends.
My understanding is the plaque already has our names on it too. Is that correct, Daniel?
I'll let you know, I watched the video on how to improve my drive by 60 yards, so watch out. Anyway, that's it for now, and thank you very much, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Jeff, I know that trick. I kick it too. So.
Is that the Trump trick?
So the golf tournament is at Scandia, right? That's where I play golf.
That's where they're sending us.
Okay.
Well, I think that goes right into board trustee reports, doesn't it?
I think that's my report. Go ahead, Rich.
I just, being a trustee that's always looking for the financial well-being of the district, I did tell Jamie that I thought it would be more cost effective to have our names, Austin's, mine, and my two other ringers, names put on the plaque. Look at Danielle over there. Got you. I'm going to take that from you. Anyhow, the golf tournament tomorrow. We're looking forward to defending our title. I'm sure there'll be a lot of scrutiny and extra people looking to make sure that they count every stroke and foul and whatever, but we normally don't take any liberties until after people have become completely inebriated. I'm just kidding. But the tournament tomorrow, for those, I think we're sold out, right? Okay, yeah, so we don't even have to try and let anybody know out there that there's another spot or two. That's really good. We're sold out. That's awesome. That means the community is involved. And it's a great time. It's a great time. It's just more good things. I know Austin's been really busy this year. I hope he's been able to find a little time to get in some, because I only need to hit the ball good 3 times. So anyhow, other than that, a lot of good things are going on. Our enrollment being up is good. I I want to say it's kind of, we're starting to see the culmination of a lot of everybody's best efforts to make Windsor a destination place that people want, the parents and their kids want their kids to be here, be part of our program in whatever avenue and whatever their interest is. It's exciting because I've always been a Windsor cheerleader. I've always been aspirationally thinking of how our school is, the things that we offer for our kids, and I like to think that we're the best anywhere. And when we sometimes fall short, everybody kind of jumps on the board to go from good to better. And so when I see these numbers, it just is kind of I don't know what the word would be, but it's kind of it's the canary in the coal mine, so to speak, of that we're doing the right things and we're doing well. That said, we still have a lot of room to grow and get better in a few things. I'm really optimistic about our math getting better. And it's the one benchmark I think that I'm looking at the most to see those improvements. Because when those things improve, I know that all our kids are really going to be reaping huge rewards that will last the rest of their life. So anyhow, thank you to everybody for the contribution that each and everyone makes to make this a wonderful place that people want to be at.
Well, we talked about most everything. I just want to wish everybody the best as we go into the 100 days of May. It'll be here before we know it. I'm enthused when we have, sort of our two flagship presentations when we get to the action items are just groundbreakingly broad, strategic, paradigm shifting changes. Was that too many adjectives up front? But just what we do. Any one of these in another district once in a year would be, fireworks going off, and we roll out something new, even the guy dancing, right? That was new. But we roll out something new initiative and we talk candidly and we put our cards on the table. And I think that has served us well here. And I'm proud that we're still doing it.
I don't really have a report, but I will share that I've been working towards a goal for a long time personally, and I made partner at my firm a few weeks ago. So really exciting. I'll just share that because it's been a huge part of my life for so long. So thank you for that. But that's kind of been my focus recently. And we've just had so many good things going on here and things feel so under control, even when, life is kind of a series of difficult things that we have to deal with and figure them out. And I feel that we have a great team in place and great systems and processes for doing that. And it is very comforting as a board member to feel just safe and that our students are safe and that we just have all the pieces in place to not have to be worried. Really, we can focus on improving, which is really kind of a blessing. So that's my report. I think we're all set on reports. So I'll move on to 3.8, approval of the minutes from March 14th.
I make the motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
You have to say aye.
Well, you don't have to say aye,
You
but
have-
if you want to say aye.
You have to say something.
So all in
Give a
favor?
sign, right?
Aye.
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 Okay, great.
Need us to do something since Jen's not here.
I'm supposed to be doing it. I just realized I'm supposed to be
Well-
doing it. So I'm trying to.
Well, she can always watch the video back. So,
Jen asked me to though figure out who was first and second because sometimes that's muffled on the video,
okay.
but I don't know if I was printed out an agenda. Do either of you have one in front of you? Can I steal it from you?
Yeah.
Give them the short.
Okay.
Bill, you were first. And Rich, you were second.
And you got the closed session reports? That's probably the most important thing when we.
I have that written down, so I'll
Okay,
send
thank
it to you. Okay. 3.9, we always love this item, staff recognitions. Pete Sullivan, take it away.
My spiel will be short. Hello and welcome, everyone.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite things. It's recognizing our staff. And as usual, I'd like to let you all know that next week, I will be at Cali, and I hope you will all join us. It's at 2:00. I think Jen has already sent out those invites, but if she hasn't, I will either remind her or do it myself. And I think we still owe you one for the high school. We got bumped and then bumped again, but it will happen. So we are going to do a recognition at the high school, and then we're going to do a recognition at Cali, hopefully in a short time frame. But tonight we're here to recognize a couple of very deserving staff members at Windsor Middle School. And instead of listening to me, blah, 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 you actually have somebody who is really great at speaking and is engaging in all aspects. So I'm going to ask Angela to come on up.
I am not
and
good at dance either.
You're not, but we could do the Carlton together.
No.
Are you sure?
Yep.
I'm
I think
ready
you
for
could
it. Go ahead.
lead the way, Pete.
No, I mean, no, I'm not solo Carlton, but.
I'm not anything Carlton. All right, so I'm recognizing tonight. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you, Meadow. And the rest of you. So I have two people I am recognizing tonight. We have our Teacher of the Year that was voted on by our staff, and then our Classified Person of the Year, Veronica Gonzalez. She's the lead custodian at our school. I'm going to start with her. And I didn't do a write-up. What I did was I grabbed quotes from people, and I just said, I'm just going to read the quotes because I think their colleagues did a great job honoring them. Okay, so the first one, Veronica has been a part of Windsor School District for many years. She goes above and beyond to make sure students and staff have a safe and clean school. Not only is Veronica a hardworking custodian, she's also the extra eyes and ears on campus. She develops relationships with students and checks in with them to make sure they're okay while doing her cleanup and break and lunch. I appreciate her dedication to making Windsor Middle School a beautiful, safe campus. So that was one colleague said that about Veronica. Someone else said she always has a smile and positive attitude. And someone else said she works hard to keep our campus clean. She is also warm and welcoming to staff and students. So that's just a couple examples of how lucky we are to have Veronica on our campus. She does keep it safe. And we did get a new addition to our campus. He's in training for a therapy dog, and so we can't have any trash because he can't eat it. And Veronica's very excited because the campus has never been cleaner because the kids are like, okay, we can't have any food. So his name is Teddy. He's very cute. All right, so our Teacher of the Year nominated by our staff is Mandy Neidlinger, and she is the head of our special ed department. She also is our 504 coordinator. She's a rock star on campus, and I'm going to read a couple quotes about Mandy. The first one, Mandy is an exceptional special education teacher. She teaches language arts and always goes above and beyond to help her students reach their potential. If her first approach doesn't help a student understand, then she tries a different way to help them. Mandy is always firm but fair. She treats all students and staff with respect. The students all respect her because of the way she treats them. She's kind. All of her colleagues go to her for advice and use her suggestions. Mandy also has taken on extra duties at our school. She has a regular caseload of special education students, as well as overseeing the 504s of our school. She's always very positive and never seems overwhelmed. Mandy is the special education chairperson, and I'm not sure how she juggles everything and still has a smile on her face. She's a leader on campus. She helps whenever she can, and she's always willing to get creative and accommodate all needs. She always has students in mind. She's an amazing teacher and person. So that's our Teacher of the Year. Well, thanks, Pete. I'll be back. I have another presentation in a couple minutes.
And we will be also sending you an invitation to visit Windsor Middle School at some point next month at one of their staff meetings to present those two staff members with our gift of appreciation.
Pete, when is the Cali recognition next week? You said 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock Wednesday.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you bet. Thank you.
Thank you. We're moving on to consent. I'm going to turn it over to my friend Rich with the note that we're pulled off 4.2. We made it 5.2 and then reordered everything after it. And we also are tabling 4.19.
4.19, right?
Yes, so take
Okay.
it away.
So I'd like to make a motion that we accept the consent calendar item 4.1 and then 4.3 through 4.18. I'd like to ask for that motion first, or I mean, I'm making that motion
I'll
first.
second.
Okay, I do want to discuss item number, let's see, Jeremy's got my paper over there, so.
The climate one you said?
Yeah, what number is it, Jeremy? I'm
It
looking.
is 4.7.
Oh, yeah, 4.7. And so I'd just like to discuss that for a minute if you guys, and Jeremy's got my papers, but, well, anyhow, basically, no, it's all right. I'm just gonna, I wing it. I do better when I wing it. That was supposed to be a joke because everybody out there's going like, gosh, this is gonna take 20 minutes now. I'm gonna try and be really quick on this. I have some concerns with this that I just want to bring up. I'm concerned that the program was going a little bit before it came to the board. So typically, things are supposed to go in a certain route, a certain way. And I always feel uncomfortable when we're approving something that's been going on for a month or two already. I understand that sometimes, especially when it comes to field trips, it's funny when you're on the board, then you understand all the dumb things that you were doing as a coach or whatever. You're like, oh, I was supposed to fill out that request for a trip like 3 months ago. I didn't understand. So I understand a little bit better being on the board. And so I always cut everybody slack because I'm probably the longest offender of not following certain things that you're supposed to have done. And the principals were always covering for me, I guess. But so it's not so much that we're dealing with it now. What I'm concerned about is this, and I don't know how to say this, so please bear with me and forgive me if I say it not quite right. When it comes to climate change, you're going to get a variety of different opinions from A to Z. I'm cool with the discussion about it as a scientific issue. I don't like anything, whatever the topic is, when people get really fanatical. Sports, climate change, anything. I just like things to be kind of, it is what it is based on the facts of what we got. And so that's my concern with this, is some of the language in it is talking about how we're going to interweave certain things into curriculum or whatever. And I didn't feel comfortable with the way it's being described of what it's trying to do. Because for me, science, math, those kind of things, they are what they are. And people can try to describe why they are what they are, and everybody can have their opinion, and that's all great. But I don't understand how the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, how things can really, how you're supposed to interweave it into every aspect of the curriculum. So those are some concerns that I have. I would like to have the curriculum that the teachers are picking up come back before the board or the administration or whatever, just to see what it is that they're learning that we're supposed to now be integrating into the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. Because I just can't quite understand what that might be that's different than how things are now. I understand that in the MOU, they have it, there's some language in there that talks about, there's language in the contract that I don't necessarily think it needs to be there. It's there. It's not a big thing now. I just want to let everyone know, I want to make sure it doesn't become a big thing later. So that was my main concern with this. And that was on consent. So I didn't want to just kind of slide on through there without having a discussion that, let's proceed, let's do our thing, and let's just keep an eye on it of how things go forward. That's pretty much it. So other than that.
So I want to be clear. I would support the MOU, and that's what's in front of us, I think.
Right.
I think perhaps have Annette, or maybe there's a lead teacher who's doing this, come back to us to talk about, answer some of the questions. I think part of what, there's the science, and then there's sort of policy and policy alternatives, and it is a political and public relations issue, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do the MOU. It sounds like we'll get an approval, but maybe we could get a little deeper explanation, not with the risk that we're going to pull the rug out from underneath, but have us maybe understand better.
Yeah, no,
Do you want me to give anything now, or do you want to wait?
Well, if you
It's up to you
can,
guys.
yeah.
Yeah, so.
Should have said, Jeremy, what can you tell us about it?
There's a new assembly bill that actually is centered around climate change. And I'm not going to read it to you. It's CTE jargon, but essentially what it says is climate change will be taught starting in the early grades. That's so CD, California Department of Education, and that was commencing with the 24-25 school year. And you know what, talking to Pete with regard to the approval after the fact, yeah, we try not to do that to you. And so in checking in with Pete, we didn't get this until a couple of weeks ago. So really, the MOU came from Marin County Office of Education, late to us. It wasn't something that necessarily we could have had control over unless we realized that it was happening. And this is not something that the district has said, hey, we're going to put this opportunity out to everybody and who wants to do it. Instead, these were teachers who found this opportunity, worked through Marin County Office of Education, and then sent it. The MOU got sent to us kind of saying, hey, they're participating. We're willing to pay them, but we can't do it without your approval. So it's more professional development than I want to say curriculum development. That's kind of a different process. So this is learning about how to teach climate change to young students, how to integrate it within different science units. And it doesn't say all different subjects like English and math. It's really just curricula is what it says. So existing curricula.
I noticed I'm sorry, Jeremy.
Yep.
I noticed in the MOU, James and Courtney at Cali are mentioned. Do you know, or can we have them come over and talk to their third, fourth, fifth colleagues at Brooks as well? Or will this be sort of rolled out initially at Cali? What's the plan on that?
Is it official?
Based on what I read,
Okay, so James is actually moving over to Brooks next year.
There you go.
The teachers, so it'll be on both campuses in terms of kind of sharing what they've learned.
yeah, so basically what the language on the one little part that was, it just kind of my little spidey little things where it was just talking, it's a 3-year program for fourth and fifth graders. And it's talking about how they're being taught how, James and the other, Courtney.
Yes.
How they will collaborate to integrate climate change into existing units curricula.
Yes.
And so if they're integrating it into the science aspect of stuff, that's awesome. If they're integrating it into the PE part of it, I don't understand how that follows. That's, and those are obviously wide.
I understand what you're saying, Rich. I think your concerning language is probably in the goals where it says emphasizing the interconnectedness of climate issues with all subjects.
Right.
Right. And I think just to give an example of what that might look like in English, that might be writing a persuasive essay for or against the kind of the views, right? Math, it could be doing graphing. So I think that's kind of the concept is how you could apply this.
Got it. And I appreciate, because I spoke with you before, and you're a science guy. So you gave me your perspective and I appreciate that. And that's all good. So I just want to put a little, hey, got a little eye on this kind of thing to make sure that we're doing it right by everybody.
Yes, sir.
All right, I think we're ready to call a vote. You've already noted the items. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Actually, who seconded it? Was it
I
you?
did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you need me to
Helping
say
Jeremy.
trustee Cagorno and trustee Lopez are absent each time or?
I don't think so.
We'll just, okay.
So
They know they're absent.
we'll make it a blanket statement. Trustee Cagorno and trustee Lopez are absent tonight, so they have, all of their votes will be noted as absences. Okay, we're moving on to discussion action items. We have items we have item 5.1, which is consideration of approval of the 23-24 district strategic arts plan. And then after this, we'll have the new item 5.2 that we pulled from consent.
Thank you. With that, I would like to invite up Elizabeth Robertson.
And can I say, as Elizabeth walks up, so there are two aspects to this, and I want to make sure we don't get things confused. You have a strategic arts plan, which is district initiated. It's not required by law. It's something that we've decided to build for our district. And then eventually we'll have a Prop 28 plan, which is required by Ed Code. And that has to do with the funding that we recently received. And that will come before the board, I believe, next month for approval for the following year. So two very different things, but it's kind of confusing unless you really are in the trenches.
Well, good evening. I am really happy to be here because, as I've said last time I came before this board, this is a culmination of a lot of work, not just of myself as a facilitator, but as there's over 21 members of our community. And I would be remiss to not say thank you to our district leadership team of Jeremy, Austin, Brian, and Pete, because they have also been really amazing thinking partners in this, especially in the last couple months as we started to really craft the final document as well. So thank you to you. Thank you to questioning and making sure that we're doing what's right by students and by this district. The strategic arts plan is live and we're calling it a plan, but new word, vision. I'm gonna talk about visions tonight. Our strategic arts vision is available online through this QR code. It's also, once we receive endorsement from the board, it is also going to be placed on our website. I'm gonna recommend that we leave our previous strategic arts plan on our website just to show kind of the history of where we are, and we'll notate that because I want to show that we have a continuum. We are a district that has really leaned into our strategic plan as a whole and articulating really clear values as a district. And that has to do with our 4 foundational pillars. And so we decided that this would be the foundation for our strategic plan for the arts. This is actually I showed you this before, but I'm going to mention it again. Under each pillar are specific areas. These are areas that are laid out by the CDE framework for arts education. And the reason why we did a plan of vision is because that is highly recommended by the CDE. It's not required, but it's recommended because that's really going to be your guide in spending and visioning for your district. And many plans have a section for each one of those items. And we decided that we really were already articulating them in our 4 pillars, but I just want to show you how it lined up. And we have had a through line of diversity, equity, and inclusion and culturally responsive practices. We had an opportunity to survey both our community and our high school students. And this really was something that has then gone on to inform our vision. And really, our numbers from our community are quite high. 92.3% agree that the arts are an important part of every student's education. Over 90% believe that the arts are a way to foster inclusivity and diversity in our schools. They also believe that the arts increase motivation and engagement for our students. They are the reason for many, many students of why students come to school and why they stay at school and why they achieve at school. And interestingly, 89.7% of respondees from our community, our schools, our teachers, our community members said that they would like to see more beginning arts courses at all levels. So they're wanting to have entry points so that they don't feel that if they miss it at one point, they don't get to try again. I promise I didn't coach the students. I started reading these and I got the biggest smile because they said exactly what we had said as adults when we were starting to plan and envision arts for this district. And they would like to see more fine arts, in particular, a fine arts core. And that's in the plan. Part of the plan is to say, how can we look at our different arts cores and opportunities at the high school, and how can we combine them to create a inclusive program of arts across the arts spectrum and curriculum. One of our students said to make sure the teachers have enough money to provide students with quality materials. Huge. We can have the best teachers in the world, but if they're using broken Crayola crayons, that's not going to work. So we want them to have real tools that artists use in a music classroom, in an arts classroom, in a dance classroom. By the way, I'm hearing they're getting a sprung floor. That's exciting. If you don't know what that means that dancers are able to go higher, but also to be safer when they land and when they move. We are making, I love this, make art a more central class in school. I think more courses should have art classes. Cores should have art classes, or there should be more art requirements for graduation. I'm all for that. I mean, that kid, I'd love to give them, I'd like to get them take them for a cup of coffee and discuss how we can have that happen, because it's so important. It's in our plan. All of these things the students said, we put in the plan. Improving arts programs by making them more known. That's not just at the schools, but in the community, so that our students and art feel seen, and that their art feels seen. And making art something that all students have access to was the main core of what our students were saying. In looking at our vision, the vision kind of comes down to 4 different areas. The first one is culturally responsive arts programs. We are looking to embed culturally responsive, meaning honoring students' cultural experiences in the classroom so they feel seen, and they see artists and teachers and art practices that reflect who they are, and identity responsive teaching practices, so practices that help students express and explore their identity through the arts. Also, partnering with local and regional arts organizations that help us bring culture bearers into our classrooms. That includes local Latinx, that is the non-gender plural of Latino, Latinx, local Latinx artists and local Native American artists, and also recruiting more teachers from those communities. We also have a vision for arts professional development, continuing our leadership with arts integration, implementation, and continued training. We're continuing that. Our I Amplify program is continuing with grades 3 through 6 this summer. They'll be housed at Windsor High School this summer. It'll be really great. We are going to be continuing and including more opportunities for communication and collaboration among staff members, both who are arts teachers, but also general educators as well. Maintaining a district Vapatosa so that there is somebody who is a leader who can be up on issues, who can also be a voice for the arts programs. Provide professional development, collaboration, and release time for VAPA teachers. Very frequently, VAPA teachers feel a little bit disenfranchised because they have very specialized needs, and when they're having to they don't get the opportunity to collaborate and learn with people who are their peers in their field, because often a teacher is the only teacher of their subject area in the arts at their particular site. Giving them opportunities to both work together in, for example, a district community of practice, or for them to go to regional and statewide convenings of arts educators is very, very important. It's how we grow and bring more to our students. We have a vision for community arts partnerships. Once again, more communication, more collaboration, reaching out, going. One of the biggest ways to do that is, I know Bill has been there as well. We have about every other month, there is a local arts mixer that's put on by the Sonoma County Arts Education Alliance. And it's where teachers and leaders come together with teaching artists and working artists to network. And so taking advantage of that networking to bring more partnerships to our district. And not just, but I also really, one of the things in our plan is also to prioritize local partnerships. So really building on the wealth of progress and products in our own Windsor community. So bringing Windsor artists to Windsor students. And then also making sure that we communicate our success at local, regional, and state communities. So for example, we're doing something amazing in the arts, encouraging and supporting our teachers financially to go to a conference and present, for example, or to publish something, or to speak to our local governing boards as well. And we also have a vision, not just a vision, but a prayer for increased funding. And so maximizing our use of Prop 28 funding, thank you voters, and other arts funding available to our district. So looking and using every single available bit of funding that we have, focusing on finding grants and grant writing to increase financial resources for arts education, in particular, focusing on grants that can help bring more arts experiences to our students from teaching artists, but also opportunities for more arts materials and arts opportunity to re-up and maintain existing materials that we have. And then also looking for grants that are going to help spearhead innovation and increasing access for our students. In conclusion, a successful implementation of our strategic arts vision will increase arts education access, equity, and quality for all of our students, staff, and community, and will continue to help us be a leader in the arts education field, and for us to help our students become fabulous communicators through arts education and arts and the arts medium. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Let's see, do we have any questions, comments from our board?
Sure. Elizabeth, thank you. I just have, these are kind of more, not random thoughts, but just kind of some things. First off, thank you for putting this together. First off, let me just start with this. Congratulations, Bill. I know this is something that's been very near and dear to your heart. I don't know if Eric is at home watching somewhere or not, or if he's still enjoying his freedom. But this was something that has been started quite a while ago. We got a grant initially and very high aspirations, hopes and dreams that everybody is excited about. And we're all excited in our own different element. For example, I couldn't draw to get out of jail, anything, but I love the music part of stuff, the band, drums, marching band, all that kind of stuff. That part of the arts, dance, all that kind of stuff, all excellent. Things that I can relate to on my side of things, other things I can't. So everybody's got their slice of the pie of this whole thing, and everybody wants to see it happen. I think so. To get this plan done, finally, it's in writing. It's here. It's ours. It's aspirational. The only thing we're going to have to work on some more is going to be funding and horsepower, right? And so to make those things happen. So to Bill, I just got to say congratulations. It's got to feel good because I know that you guys started this thing. You jumped on that early opportunity, and to see it kind of get to this point now where it's, I don't want to say it's at the starting line, but it's at it's round in the corner and getting ready to go down the home stretch. So that said, all good. I have a couple different thoughts, and it's kind of partially the funding aspect, partially the horsepower aspect, and the things that I kind of relate to, how I do things or see things. And that is I kind of want to, I think for our arts program to be wildly successful, we're going to have to use a lot of leverage. And leverage meaning our community, Windsor, county, et cetera. And I'm going to use the extracurricular, our sports model, which is what I'm really familiar with. And I'm going to kind of draw some equivalents there. One, like in our wrestling program, we only have 2 coaching stipend positions, and we had to beg to get the second one. And even for all those years, they were only half of what everybody else was getting. So we had to get people in the community that had an interest in wrestling and other sports that would volunteer their time, that were fanatics, and would come in and give crazy amounts of their personal time, their money, everything to help. We do that in almost every sport that's out there, and the kids are the beneficiaries of it. Music and the arts, I think, have to be the same way. And the reason why you say that is because that's a model that we know works, right? We have not been successful to the degree that I think anybody wants in the area of, I'm just going to say music, right? I want a marching band so bad. I just do. But we can't do that, just like a good wrestling program. You can't have a good high school wrestling program if you don't have a good youth program that's coming up. So we got to have good music introduction and whatever. I mean, we used to have to play the recorder, I think it was like 8 little buttons or whatever. I sucked at it. My mom, I wanted to play the drums. She wouldn't let me play the drums because she didn't want to hear the noise, right? But she finally made me a deal. Okay, fine. Drums are on the bass clef. You learn to play the trombone and read music, then I'll let you play the drums. So I did that. The problem was short arms, pterodactyl, right? There's 7 positions and I could only reach 4. I could kind of get the 5th one if I put my lips a little side. And so I was able to kind of get out of that deal after a couple of years. And then I finally got to play the drums forever after that. The point I'm trying to make is Mr. Spina was all over town. He was going to every house and he was bringing an instrument. He was doing all kinds of stuff. And I think that to make this become what we want, we're going to have to leverage. We're going to have horsepower. We're going to have to do things different than maybe a standard, what I'm going to call academic route. It's got to be more of a extracurricular volunteer kind of stuff. And my idea is, and this is just for down the road for thoughts and concepts, if we get people at every school site that's kind of like a coach that gets a coaching stipend of some sort, which is kind of built into these kind of plans, but something that's on at a junior high level, an elementary level, those kind of things, there's a stipend for that person, because we always know that people that get stipends always probably put in, I don't know, 3 or 4 times more effort than whatever the stipend really. I mean, if you get $1, you're probably putting in $4 or $5 or $10 worth of effort in it because it's a passion, right? And I've always preferred that our teachers get the stipends and they're the ones that are doing the extracurricular stuff as well, because the relationship with the students follows for that extra amount of time, if you can, right? And then we have like the VAPA, you have the TOSA and the other. Anyhow, I don't want to get into more than this, other than I'd like us to rethink possibly on the financial side of stuff and the community involvement side of stuff, how to leverage every possible opportunity. We have so many people in this town that have a lot of skills and arts and stuff. I mean, like somebody said something about we need to do stuff without broken crayons, right? And then I was kind of laughing in my head. I'm going, wait a minute. I know people take charcoal and they crush it up and then they smear it on the thing with their thumbs. And so broken crayons can work. You just got to crush them the right way. Was it you that said it? Oh, I'm sorry. But whoever, I knew someone said it. But anyhow, so I'd like to look at the funding part of how, until we get more funding, how we can do that leverage. Because with that leverage of our community and other people, and the passion that's in our community for these things, we can really, really move some things up. The last thing is, I hear the mandate part of things where we got to make kids take this class and do this kind of stuff. There's a part of me that really doesn't like when I hear that. Now, I have to tell you this, I like persuasion. That said, my mother, I've told a few of you, my mother, she persuaded us in the way that you can't do that anymore. And we had to take tap dancing and jazz for years, and I hated it. I hated having to start it, then we liked it after we did it, right? Or while we were doing it, but later. We had to do ballet. I had to do ballet for 6 or 7 years until I finally quit because my mom had all my Pop Warner kids came when they found out that I was in a recital and they were all there.
Would you like to teach, would you like to be our culture bearer for elementary dance?
No, no, because Jeremy did, because he knows how to do the Carlton, right? With the sweater. The sweater is really what the action is. So, but then on top of that, then ballroom dancing. I didn't want to do that because my mom had us do that when we were, I didn't want to go dancing with a girl. Girls had cooties back then, right? And then I discovered the girls didn't have cooties, and then I loved ballroom dancing. So every aspect of the arts that my mom made us do, I didn't want to do. And then after I did it, I was very glad and thankful that we did. So I don't know where that line is between mandating and persuading and encouraging, but I think mandating isn't the right way to do it, but there's something to be said for really helping somebody do something in the arts.
Thank you, Rich.
May we respond or should we wait?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to say one thing and I'm going to hand it over to my colleague. I love everything you said because it's all in the plan.
Right.
And secondly, we do have the financials and I believe they're going to be shared next month, Austin? Yes. So they are there. We just didn't want to overwhelm tonight. But I'm going to let Gabby speak for a moment.
Can I say something real quick before you switch over? Okay. So it is on par with what Rich was saying and the trying to not necessarily mandate, but persuade, and also in tying in with the community aspect. As a student, and coming from when I was a younger student, the coolest thing was the high schoolers. You go to the middle schoolers, and right now, maybe Ms. West can attest to it. They look up to the high schoolers. Like, well, when I'm in high school or my older sibling is in high school and they do this, or they're on the football team, they do that. You have the advantage of having these students who maybe played an instrument from childhood or grew up in a family who had instruments or parents who were interested in art, except I could go on. But they could go to the younger schools and present and have pictures like the kids today who presented about their passions. So you already have examples of students who are interested in that and what they are capable of. You could have the same thing at an elementary school or a middle school, and that's that engagement. So you could tie in the fact like, oh yes, this is a required class to an extent, and we made it fun, and we love it. And this is how I found my passion. And I found out I was talented in a way that I never knew I was. And then a kid is like, oh, well, I like drawing. And they have all of the awesome colored pencils that I never would ever buy, or my mom won't let me get at the store. And so on and so forth, whatever. That ties it in to like personalizing it and they can look up to it. Or if the kid is a freshman, they're like, oh, that kid could look up. Or maybe that student even is willing to mentor the oncoming freshman. And so that is something that can maybe build that community aspect if that is something you are open to.
Hi, I'm Gabrielle Gamboa and I teach visual art at Windsor High. And I just wanted to put you at ease, Rich, about the mandating. By mandating just at the high school, we have 1 year required of art, but you have choice. It could be visual art, it could be dance, it could be music, it could be theater, it could be digital art. We just want to make sure that students continue to have choices, options, and that they also are able to try out different art forms in the younger grades. There is no art teacher in the elementary schools right now. There are a few, there's relatively little art, including music and theater, in the middle schools right now. So we just want to expand opportunities. And mandating, I think some kids probably would enjoy 2-year requirements of art. I know that some of the UCs, I think is that a UC requirement or state? No, it's 1 year, yeah. But anyways, just that. But we want to provide choices, options, opportunities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to make some comments and then I'll turn it over to Bill to kind of close us out, because I know this, like Rich said, this is something that you've been working towards and that you're passionate about. I wanted to I'll touch on a few different things. One is you talked about kind of spreading the word. I forget exactly how it was referenced in the slide, but it sounds like we could do some, so if we're looking at like super low hanging fruit, like we already have a lot and we need to spread the word about what we have. And that sounds like internal and external marketing. So that sounds like a really good place to start thinking about, how do we leverage literally what we're already offering? So I just wanted to flag that. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about is kind of like, it's a little bit, it's not off topic, but it's kind of like timely for now, is kind of like technology and how it's affecting kids right now. Because I have kids that are this kind of in this age range of like middle school, high school, where we would see most of like the arts programming. And it just feels that the way technology is kind of like available to them now is very time consuming. Like it's very effective at taking their attention and keeping them busy. And I think so for some kids, the only time when they're not kind of bombarded with technology is when they're in school. I mean, at least I've seen that with like a lot of like the reels and video type platforms where you can watch like short form videos. It's just very addictive. And I don't know how we're going to handle that like as like more broadly, like, and because it's so hard, I think, for kids, even older people, I think for anyone to regulate once the algorithm kind of figures out what you like to watch. But I think it is a real issue of kind of draining kids' time, like their free time, and also taking away time when they might ordinarily be creative and be doing something artistic into being a consumer. So I think art is more important now than ever. And having art in our schools is more important now than ever, because there are so many external forces that we have not figured out how to regulate as a society, right, on our kids. And so, yeah. So, and then I was going to make another point. So there's that side of it. And then this piggybacks on what Rich is saying, about kind of like bringing in people like having stipends or bringing in other people. Like I kind of have a dream that we can harness some of our retiree power in this community and really like have a program where we get people more involved, either as like in a very regular and orderly fashion of like, okay, someone commits to being a teacher's aide, for 4 hours a week, and they go into the same classroom, or they go into a pool of people who do, like, I think we could also do that with the arts potentially. So I think this is also something that's potentially a lot of work, but if we figured out how to do it, we could really do something pretty incredible and support our schools for like with people who want something meaningful to do, because there's really nothing more fun than spending time with kids. I think maybe there are other things for people, but I think it's one of the most fun things that you can do. And I think there are people in our community who, would really enjoy doing that, and that we can find a way to do that. So it's something that I would like to work on, maybe for next school year, maybe in the future. So just
Maybe
something
a partnership with the senior center.
Potentially, yeah. So something that I would like to think about, and it sounds like we have kind of multiple avenues, potentially some stipend positions, potentially some purely volunteer things that we could think about. Yeah, so those are my thoughts, and I will turn it over to Bill. Thank you for waiting so
Thank you.
patiently.
And thank you, Elizabeth and Gabby. Could you put up the first page of the actual art vision document? So I have sort of a structural suggestion, and I'm sorry I didn't call you after we got this the end of last week, because I'm going to refer to this given some of the comments that have been made, because it's a way to demonstrate what's in the plan. And okay. Okay, that's fine. As you know, we have the pillars, and you have then like 1.1 and then another subsection of 1.2. And under 1.1, I'm looking at it, there's a half a dozen different strategies. I would urge us to go back and make those like strategy 1.1.1 and strategy 1.1.2, because then we can refer to it. Because, Rich, for example, we have the district TOSA, that full-time position, is in 2.3.1. We have lead teachers and at the elementary sites and at the arts elective departments at the middle school and high school is in 2.3.2. We have grant writers in 4.3.1 and development committees in 4.3.4. This is the same bold, broad, aspirational stretch wraparound plan that we did sort of iteration 1 in 2016 and 2017, which was a 3 or 4 or 5 year plan. I remember when Bob Bullwinkle, who was the consultant, said, I have never seen, this is his quote, he'd never seen a plan that was so ambitious. He said, you can never do all this. And I said, absolutely right, Bob. And certainly not if we haven't planned for it, right? And out of the blue, we got a $1.9 million grant to get our kindergarten through 5th grade teachers to come in and get arts integration, right? So we talk about this now somewhat of a dry section in the curriculum at the middle school, but that's what's happening again this summer with the iAmplify. And I just love the fact that this is so many different things. We may not ever get to all of them. But again, I am convinced, absent planning and articulating, why not, what if? Let's put these things down. Let's articulate what they might cost. The number is going to be very large when we see it next month. And of course, we're going to have to prioritize. And appreciate that you put some priorities in the plan as suggestions that we can look at. I am firmly convinced that absent a plan, we cannot get to what I think is one of the most important core curriculum areas for our students, which is arts. Very rarely when people finish up secondary school as a 12th grader, will they ever dibble dabble in graphic art or ensemble music or, doing funny dance or good dance, or the things that you just don't get to, right? And you may apply some math and some English, not that those aren't important, but I believe that arts and what, feelings sound like, what feelings look like, what feelings are acted like is such an important piece. And once we get this in place, I'll just or do an early disclosure. I'd like us to look and have the debate to say, why wouldn't we have a second arts elective as a requirement for our graduation in the district? We might have to make some adjustments. There's way too many things we have to do. But, if arts are important and if arts engage and keep our schools producing students that can have a passion and a vision and creativity, we really need to look at that. So I want to thank you for this. This has been a long time coming. We had a pause for COVID. I will tell you, friends, we have an arts leader in Elizabeth. Her predecessor back in the day, Allison Frenzel, who went off to the dark side for CDE in Sacramento. She and I went in 2015 and 2016 to Napa, and we drove back thinking, why can't we do that? Why not? And we had to pinch each other to say, let's not stop at the realm of what's possible. We don't know who the community partners are. We could never get that money. No, we could never get those volunteers who could come from the community. I think this plan is a broad stretch, and I really appreciate you working on it and it coming through the district office to say it's a big plan. And I think part of it then is where are we going to have to prioritize and cherry pick, because it's clearly not possible to do it all at once. And so rolling it out, having the demonstration of success, I think is just a wonderful thing. And I'm excited, as you can tell. It's I have 3 students, all of which, one who's an architect, one's a professional musician, a music teacher in another school district of the peninsula, and one who's an environmental scientist, and all of them thrived out of arts exposures at Windsor, starting at middle school, a little bit at their elementary school, but in very, very different ways, in very, very different careers. Not everybody's going to be a professional graphic artist or whatever, but that can be maybe one of the landmark classes that we send them out into the world with. So with that, I think we go to public comment, and then, so we're looking, as I understand it, simply for an approval of the plan as submitted, and then we'll get some numbers next month. And then I think out of that, we'll also have some prioritization of where some of the rollouts happen for the next school year. But I want to thank you and Gabby and a number of people who were at these meetings. This is always a long time coming. And thank you for not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. I love that phrase because so often that's the excuse why stuff doesn't get done. Mm-hmm. And again, as I said before, when we were in the consent or comments or whenever that was, this is a bold thing. This plan, I will guarantee you, in the next 6 to 18 months will produce millions of dollars of grants for us. People will look to say, wow, you are ready to receive money and implement. Wow, 4.7.1 is something that we could do for you. And we have thought perhaps, well, we never know how we're going to ever fund that, right? So that's one of the tools that have been useful for our district over the past 4 or 5 years when we had a shelf-ready plan, right, to do this.
I did have one follow-up on that one question because I don't know the answer to this, but, and I could be way off on this, but is there possibly CTE money for this? And the reason why I ask is this. One of the big reasons why I like the build program and whatever, right? It's because I personally, and so many other kids, they would struggle with math in school. Then they get into the trades and they're out there and they're doing geometry and they're doing all these different things. And yet they would say, oh man, I did terrible at math in school, but yet they're doing high level geometry, laying out all these different building things, right? And so I just was thinking to myself, they're doing it. They just didn't have a way to apply the theory to the practice. So that's what, so if you take the build core and you put the theory with the practice when they're in high school, that would be really good. So with the arts, now I can't say anything about drawing because I can't, but in all of my dancing and in all of the band, you have to be able to do fractions. You have to be able to do, a lot of it has math in it. So that's why I'm thinking that with the arts part, or at least those areas, those are applied things that could maybe also be the thing that helps somebody relate. Oh, 3/4 of a picture, 3/4 of a this, 3/4 time. Oh, I get it now. I have something to relate it to. So that's the kind of the thing. And I don't know if CTE is an area that can fund something. I don't know.
I'll answer quick. I mean, one of the pathways is arts, media, entertainment. That is a CTE pathway, a career technical education pathway, which we have.
Yeah.
At the middle school and high school now. Okay. Yeah. Which, yes, the answer is we can get state money.
Good.
We currently have a CTE theater course at the middle school. We also have 2 CTE focus area cores at the high school. One that's more of a media arts core, and then we have one that is theater and dance.
Right.
And we have one just recently we added a CTE music course.
I'm sorry. I was meaning in addition to what we already have, if there was other stuff that we can get money for.
We could potentially add more.
Yeah,
We'd explore the type of courses that we could add. Yeah.
I mean, we're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars for it now, I think, aren't we, Austin? Yeah. Yeah, our CTE cores are underwritten.
Yeah, we currently have several CTE, and even I would include CPAs into there, that we have some CPAs that intertwine with arts for sure. So.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Great, thank you. I'm going to go out for public comment. Do we have any public comments on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. I will move to asking for motion. Do I have a motion?
You're a nice guy. You don't want I would make the motion that we approve the strategic arts vision as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you very much.
Seconds, and then I'll take the vote. Everyone at the same time, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Passes.
Before we go to the next, can we take it right now?
So before we go on to the next item, we're going to take a little break because That's good for all of us. 3 minutes.
We have that other thing. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll be back. We'll continue with the next VAPA item
Got it.
and then we'll move on. We've lost a board member. So we'll be back soon. But I know we brought up item 4.2 and made it 5.2. So why don't we go ahead and do that item as we set up for this next one? That is consideration of approval of new job description, VAPA instructional assistant, and updated classified classification schedule. Pete, thank you.
Hello. Are we still on? Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, we're looking to, we were seeking approval for a new job description, and that was perfectly handed off. Thank you, Elizabeth. I think we now have the scope of what it is that we're attempting to do. And oftentimes I think you'll find that in arts classes, you might not find the support that you might find in other academic and school environments. Art classes are often require an exceptional amount of material prep, setup, cleanup, to say nothing of focused interaction, helping kids break into groups. Having additional help, as in all classes, would be a benefit to the students as well as the teachers who are teaching those classes. And of course, the bonus of the added funding from Prop 28 would allow this ongoing funding to support the exposure of the arts and help build a stable and engaging classroom environment for all of the staff or students who get to participate. So we're seeking that this job this job description can be approved and we can create it and facilitate some help inside those classrooms.
Okay, great. Do we have any questions from the board on this item?
Can I give actually a little more clarification? If you look at this is specifically, we're looking at elementary. Okay, because if you think about what an elementary classroom looks like, we do a lot of centers. And when you don't have an extra person in the room, oftentimes it's difficult to do a lot of these projects. They're messy, kids are little, it doesn't work. So we're looking to try to add another body in the room so that we can do a lot of these VAPA related projects.
And is this a 1.0 rover, or would we start with how would that wasn't clear to me? Or is it, do we start it on an incremental basis and then see what the need might be?
We were looking at, this is going to come to you in the Prop 28 plan bill next month. But what we were considering and looking at is potentially one per grade level so that we could have that person rove. But the first step here is to make sure you guys are in support of this concept, I think, with the job description. But that was the idea. I believe if you're looking at Maddie Washburn, the funding is for Prop 28 is right around $78,000. Tell me I'm right or wrong, Austin, please, but it's somewhere around there. So we were looking at using part of those funds to potentially fund some of these instructional assistants for VAPA.
Okay, thank you.
That was my question. Is our description of this consistent with what we need for the Prop 28 funding?
Yes.
There we go. Then do I need to make a motion? Or is this a motion thing or?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
First I'll ask for public comment quickly, and seeing none, I think we can go ahead. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve this job description, which is now 5.2? 5.2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Great.
Super.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good.
Moving on to 5.3, update on food services. Thank you, Jennifer Baker, for being here and for the snacks. Take
Yay.
it away.
Yes, I was asked repeatedly if I was bringing food again, so. Just so you know what you have, that is chicken pozole, traditionally made with pork, but we've been making it with chicken. And that is a turkey club wrap. The pozole came from the middle school. And those are the fixings for the pozole.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to be here to give you an update on what's been happening in the food service, food nutrition
You were
department.
so sneaky. You're giving us a presentation and you're feeding us so we can't say anything. This is like the slickest
We're co-opted.
presentation I haven't seen in 5 years. This is pretty
It's like
slick.
if you had to draw during the last one.
And now I know because Stephanie, she told me at the break, I'm going to keep you quiet. And you two are in cahoots. You're just feeding me. This is pretty
It
smart
wasn't how it
girls.
sounds. I said we are going to we're going to move
Well,
through the
hopefully the
items.
pozole's still hot. It's been sitting for a little
Don't
while.
rewrite history.
We're going to keep going. We have quite a few items left, so.
I want to start with meal participation. This past year, we've seen a substantial increase in both breakfast and lunch participation. I believe the increased numbers for breakfast are due to the addition of the Second Chance breakfast program that is now in place at all sites, with the exception of Cali. And the Second Chance breakfast allows the students who do not receive a meal before school to receive one during their first break or at morning recess. I contribute the increased lunch participation to the new Scratch and Speed Scratch menu items that are being prepared on site. I have to remember to do the slides at the same time. During the month of February, Cali had an increase of 44% during breakfast and 13% during lunch. Brooks had an increase of 62% during breakfast, but saw a slight decrease of 3% during lunch. Myra, who's the lead at Brooks, said that all of her big eaters moved on to the middle school this year. Maddie Washburn had an increase of 17% during breakfast and 22% at lunch. We saw a big increase in the breakfast numbers at Maddie last year during the 22-23 school year because Maddie was the pilot school to have the Second Chance program. As you can see, although the schedule at Cali does not permit the adequate time for the Second Chance breakfast program, we've seen a rise in numbers there as well. Again, during the month of February, we saw middle school had a 9% increase during both breakfast and lunch, and the high school had a 24% increase during breakfast and 19% during lunch. This year, we've implemented more Speed Scratch and Scratch items to our weekly menus. The term Speed Scratch is used when a recipe incorporates both fresh and pre-cooked ingredients, such as the commodity beef crumbles that we get from USDA or the pre-cooked diced chicken, which is in the pozole. Here are a few of our new menu items this year. In the top left-hand corner was a district-wide Thanksgiving meal of roasted chicken and mashed potatoes and gravy. They also got a slice of pumpkin bread with that. In the lower left-hand corner is the high school chef salad. Right next to that is the buffalo chicken ranch sandwich, which is a favorite at the middle school. The upper right-hand corner is the new Chipotle Ranch Choco Salad, which includes a scoop of guacamole and a bag of tortilla chips. Yep, that's at the high school. Last but not least, front and center, a student's favorite at all site is the chicken pozole, served with all the fixings and tortilla chips. And not pictured, but sampled tonight was the turkey bacon club wrap, and that has boar's head bacon in it. I've been working with Boar's Head to bring in some of their products. We have the Quick Cafe at the high school. High school's Quick Cafe opened the beginning of November. It took me a while to find someone to run it. It met the needs of 80 or more students daily who would not otherwise walk to the cafeteria for lunch. Unfortunately, we've experienced staffing issues recently, and we had to close the cafe until I can find somebody else, hopefully by next year. Serving line equipment throughout the district has been needing updating with failing coolers and broken parts. It became apparent that some changes needed to happen soon. The middle school's new serving line was installed over Christmas break, and the high school serving lines were installed over spring break. We're still making some adjustments to the high school lines, and we'll be installing some new lighting in that room as well. The students seem to enjoy the graphics and animation, and of course, the gigantic TV screens that are on these lines. The changes have taken the staff some time to get used to, but they are seeing the lines move a little quicker. So as you can see, there's heated shelves and wells there. So they used to have doors on them, and the students would have to open the doors and reach in and close the doors. So they're not having to do that anymore. Shared tables and carts are used in districts to allow students that may still be hungry to take another item free of charge. Unopened package items, entrees, unopened milk, whole fruit, vegetables may be left in the chilled bins and pans for those who want more to eat. The items not taken are then donated to the Conservation Corps of North Bay. These share tables, this one here in the picture, Those will be delivered to Callie, Maddie, Washburn, and Brooks next week. And then the middle school is getting one as well that will match their serving lines. The high school already has the counter at the end of their lines, which they use for that purpose. Since August of 2023, CCNB, which is the Conservation Corps in North Bay, crews collect the uneaten edible food from all 5 schools in Windsor Unified School District. The food collected every week is then transported to Labatt Landing, DEMA, Home First, and the Conservation Corps of North Bay. Thus far, they've collected 5,900 pounds of edible food, and it has been collected, diverted from landfill, and delivered to community members experiencing food insecurity. The before and after school care program, also known as WELL, began at Callie and Maddie Washburn during the 22-23 school year. This year, Brooks became a sponsor of the program as well. With the added hours on campus, we are required to provide meals for these students. Because of the type of meal service it is, we serve the meals under a different food service program called CACFP. That is the Child and Adult Care Food Program. That's actually run by the DSS, Department of Social Services. This federally funded program reimbursement rates are actually higher than the National School Lunch Program. It's about almost 30 cents higher, so it's bringing in a little more revenue for the department. We've been serving both supper and afternoon snacks since last October. Last February, the program served a total of 4,750 suppers and 2,759 snacks. In February this year, we served 5,077 suppers and 3,194 snacks. That also includes the Boys and Girls Club at Callie. Although sometimes silly, the food service staff like to show their spirit in Halloween costumes, prom dresses, which I did not get a picture of that up there, and photo ops. These are Halloween pictures. Some of these ladies are still with, most of them are still with me. Some of them have gone on to other departments. So our school food service employees are not only influential in our cafeterias, but they also help stand strong and lead the monumental Universal Meal Program. These culinary professionals are the cornerstone of the program. It is because of their steadfast commitment to the student health and desire to improve learning outcomes for our children that California can offer every student a quality, nutritious breakfast and lunch, free each and every school day. A school meal is often the healthiest meal a child eats, changing and shaping the health of his or her today and tomorrow. Every year, the first Friday in May is National School Lunch Hero Day, dedicated to those men and women who make the cafeterias and schools a better place to be. For many children, the cafeteria is the first place they enter on school day. From the first time through the cafeteria line, the lunch hero has more than nutrition on their mind. The well-being of every child is important to them. Keeping them safe, happy, and providing them with good, delicious food is also a priority. Often they see entire families grow up, and sometimes they are family. Sorry. National School Lunch Hero Day provides us with the opportunity to recognize these people. It gets emotional for me because I feel like I've poured myself into these people, this staff, and I've made a lot of changes. And a lot of times they don't like me because of but I'm very fortunate to have strong, dedicated people working in the food service department. So I hope you take time to acknowledge them.
Thank you. And you said that the recognition day is the first?
May 3rd.
May 3rd.
This year.
Okay.
It's the first Friday of every May.
Great. Well, thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
I have gone over and had lunch with Principal West and Kai RC took me over to the high school and I've been over because I walk across the street and sometimes when some of the administrators were over at Maddie, I'll have a coffee. You know, we recognize Veronica as the custodian at Windsor Middle, who I think are like the mayors who know the pulse of the kids. The others are the lunch ladies, these superheroes. I love the Rosie the Riveter showing the guns. So thank you. I'm sure it's hard. Are we still like the only place that makes money through our food program? It's amazing what you do because this is for the first 11 years I was on the board. It was, well, what's the loss leader to have a good food service program? And it always perennially had, well, we had to subsidize it and that was a good thing to do. But in that vein, I saw a day or two, or maybe over the weekend, that amongst the governor's budget proposals was to possibly scale back some of the universal funding for food service. And I wonder what kind of traction that has and what that in this various scenarios might mean for what we're doing. And if it's going to be X amount of dollars we might not get, do we need to know now that the recommendation is, hey, let's take X amount of dollars from somewhere in our general fund and put that 100 grand back into the food service, which is performing at an amazing level. So I'd be curious on what we may know about that.
Yeah, I can help answer that. I wanted to piggyback onto Jen a little bit and it will help answer that question. So last year when Jen made this presentation and then I went and I included her budget as part of it. And you guys went, when did our food service budget get so much better? And I was like, well, we hired an amazing food service director. And then we talked about student participation, how it just skyrocketed since we hired her and everything. Everything that she just showed you. So Callie having an increase of 44% for breakfast, Brooks having an increase of 62% for lunch, Maddie Washburn having an increase of 17% for breakfast, 22% for lunch. All of that is already on top of the increase that we already saw from the prior year. So when it comes financially, Jen has so much money, I don't even have to worry about it. I can look at the governor's proposal, go, well, is cutting food service, I don't even have to tell Jen because I'm trying to tell her to spend her money because there's laws that say how much money she can have and she has too much. So it's one thing that I'm not even worried about. We spent about $400,000 to $500,000 on new, how much were they, Jen, for the serving lines? About 400 to 500. Yeah.
500, right under 500,000.
Right under
So
500.
basically, if there's a cut, it wouldn't really impact us because,
It's not going to matter anyway.
yeah.
Even with the 400,000 to 500,000, she's still having a surplus this year. So even if they cut, we're in a good spot.
Good.
But one of the things that I really admire about Jen, and I don't even know if she knows this, but the biggest pain point in me coming to the district was actually food service. I had to go weekly to a couple of the sites and talk to the ladies because they were so upset with how the food service department was running. And Jen came in, she started doing PD days, professional development days. She started holding her staff accountable, all the things that make it tough to be a leader. And she did all those things. And I, since hiring her, haven't had to go in at once to any of the sites. They're all happy. They all love it. There are times when they don't love her, but for the most part, I mean, they love having. So needless to say, I'm lucky to have Jen. I know you guys have more questions, but I wanted to just say that at least.
Thank you, Wes.
Yeah.
But I think the mandate too, it won't apply to us anymore because this last year we've been under provision 2. And this year we're applying for CEP, which means that a percentage of and they lowered the numbers this last year. So the percentage of our free and reduced has to be, was it this year, 25%?
For CEP, yeah.
Yeah, so once we apply for CEP, the same applies for provision 2, but CEP allows all the students to have free meals moving forward. We don't ever have to have the parents do meal applications again.
So
go ahead.
I'm great that we have that continuity. What then does the government's smoke and mirror saving plan about school feeding address that, if not this?
So what they're referring to is they're referring to cutting right now, for the longest time, the federal government used to provide funding for meals up to a certain point. I know some of you know this, some of you don't. So if you had a free blah, blah, blah. The way the state now funds it is they came in and covered the difference and just said, we're going to cover it for everyone, regardless of your income. So what they're discussing is, do we take that away?
Right.
That was one of the things that they discussed, is just going back to it being federally reimbursed. For us, I've ran the numbers. We don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
But that's what they're discussing and possibly taking away.
For those school districts that are not under a provision.
I don't know if it would apply to us or not, but it may, depending on how it comes out, because it hasn't come out yet. Okay. The governor hasn't released anything.
Okay.
Well, thank you. This is such a fundamental infrastructure core that is just a given in our schools now. And I meant what I said. The custodians and the lunch people are the ones who can look at a kid and know if there's a buzz going on with that kid in ways that maybe classroom teachers don't see or can't see, or the kid doesn't show that face. So thank you to them on that piece as well.
Yeah, and I think meals are a big part of the day for students. And that's why I think it's so great that you bring food for us to eat, because I know my own kids are like, well, you don't eat the food from school. And I'm like, yeah, I do. I actually have eaten it. So it's really great that we're able to all say, yes, so we actually know what you eat. We've eaten it, and, we have that shared experience to know kind of what's being referenced. So it makes us feel more connected to the students. Although I know the three of us up here would all love to go like lunch hopping through the schools, which we have.
So you can see the new lines.
Yeah, so if Jeremy allows us to go.
You just gotta pay.
The pozole is amazing too. Like, this is good.
The staff actually had a lot of fun, kind of competition who makes the best pozole.
Wow. Rich, you have anything?
Just sometimes thank you just doesn't seem enough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
When you're extraordinarily good at something, you're not always going to be loved. But love isn't what you're always looking for, but respect is, and you are greatly respected. I think you can feel that from everybody. And the food was really, really good. You and Stephanie's plan worked. I was quiet for a while. But thank you. Just exemplary is the kind of word that comes to my mind. And I know the kids love the food. I mean, it's just nothing but compliments by the kids. They don't even know they're complimenting it, but it just really, really is. I'm glad that all the kids get to eat regardless. I remember being a young kid, and my dad was the vice principal at Porcel School. We couldn't afford to eat the food that the kids were eating, especially those really nice potato things. And I remember it sucked. I'm going, my dad's the vice principal, and we can't afford to have the lunch that the other kids are getting. And yet we didn't really honestly have enough money to have the kind of lunches that those kids were having. And so I love the fact that everybody gets to eat whatever they want to eat, that we're not wasting any of the food, because I know some folks are hesitant to sign up historically for that because of pride, ego, whatever, right? Sense of being able to take care of their family and stuff. So anyhow, I just like that every kid gets to eat whatever they want to eat at the school, and that you're making this a 5-star place. So it just, again, thank you isn't enough, but thank you.
Yeah.
And everybody else involved that help, I just gotta say this, man, I feel so full. We have such great people in our district right now, probably more than I've ever noticed in all these different areas. And it's just so joyful to be associated with people who are just excellent. So thank you.
Hear, hear. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm going to go out for public comment. I don't think we have any. And we don't, thank you. And we don't have action, so
We did. The action was taken.
The action was eating. So as we're clearing up, I'm going to move on to the new 5.4, which is our freshman seminar. Brian Williams presenting, and I think Danielle Buckman possibly presenting as well.
Yes, I will have Danielle Buckman come up and tell you all about the new course.
Thank you.
I get to do my own click now? I thought I was going to tell you when to click. It's way more fun. All right. So freshman seminar, this is, I feel like kind of my baby, something that we've really been working on for a while, thinking about how can we shift what we've been doing in the past to better support our incoming freshmen. And this is really where we landed. So think of freshman seminar as an onboarding course for all of our new ninth graders, all 488 of them that we currently have right now, which is awesome, right? That's awesome. But they need support, right? They need love. They need a landing spot. And you know me, I love data. And so as a math TOSA, I'd always look at, how are our kids doing in Math 1, specifically how are our ninth graders doing? And that, grew into how are our ninth graders doing in general. And something that came out of that data was figuring out that even just after Mark 1, so that's your first grading period, 45% of our freshmen were not on A through G track anymore. So that means that at least one of their core classes, they earned lower than a C-. And so that starts them off at a big deficit, right? That automatically means summer school, if we want to get them back on track. Historically, we've really pushed it down the road and we've said, it's fine. You can do credit makeup or we'll figure it out when you're a junior. We'll find another class that you can take to validate that. And we're really shifting away from that model. We want to fix the problem from the beginning. So I took that 45% and I said, okay, where are those D's and F's? What is that landing in? And what I found out is that 54% of the D's and F's of those 45, right, were in our core classes. So English, history, and science, that huge component that we have as part of our high school. And I think to look at that and say, okay, that just means we need to do something different. Our freshmen need something else. They're not getting everything that they need as they join us in ninth grade. So that's really kind of what stemmed the removal of ninth graders from core and having them kind of have their own standalone schedule, right? Where they have their English or honors English. They do have a chance to take bio if they're interested in that. And all freshmen will be taking freshman seminar or Avid 9, because both of those are incredible supports for those kiddos coming in. And so if we think about our pillars, right, and all students are connected and thriving, that was another reason why we needed to bring on freshman seminar, because how are they going to connect? How are they going to become a bigger part of our school community? And that's by creating this class. This will be their community. This group of 20 to 25 students that they get to see every other day and have a teacher that's fully immersed in what they're doing in their other core classes is going to provide that opportunity to really get them connected. So some of the pieces that we noticed as we were kind of diving in, it's a huge shift in terms of academic challenges, right? They're at the middle school. They kind of have little to no homework when they're there. And not to discredit the middle school, but when they get to high school, right now they've got 6 classes, 6 rigorous academic classes, and they're loaded up with homework and they're struggling. And how do you tackle that? How do you prioritize? How do you, go home and deal with sports and manage social media and all of those different components when this is all brand new to you? So just being able to adapt to that new environment, we need to address those low grades. Like I said before, we don't want our kiddos to start at a deficit already. And then, just having a high school readiness in general. What does it mean to be a student? What do I need to bring to school every day? Sometimes I have to remind them, like, where's your backpack? Where's your Chromebook? Like, where are all these things that you need, my dear? Like, this is important. So that's part of this course as well, is really just a holistic support of these kiddos in all of these different areas. And it's, more than just academics. So we're looking at, those, like we call them those hidden norms, right? So like when a kiddo walks into class and they need to use the bathroom or they need to, ask a question or whatever those kind of, those things are that kids just know by the time they become an 11th or a 12th grader, our freshmen need help with that, right? They're still squirrely, they're still sweet, and they need that direction. So that's, another component of this. They are sweet. I love freshmen. They're like my favorite. And then another component of freshman seminar is going to be AVID strategies. Obviously not all of them, otherwise we would just have AVID 9, but just those key strategies and those study skills, mainly like organization, how do you function as a successful student? And then how does that carry over into your other classes? So this freshman seminar course will really partner with the English 9 courses. And so as let's say we're doing focused note-taking in freshman seminar, that's a skill that they can then go transfer over into their English 9 class and apply it that same day, that same week. And so they're seeing the connections between these different courses that they're taking. So some of the pieces that are going to be covered in this class are our college and career workshops. So as a 9th grader, if you ask them like, hey, what does it mean to be A through G ready? They're gonna be like, I don't know what that means, right? But it's important because that matters in 9th grade. They have to earn a C- or better. It might not play into their GPA, but it's important. It's something that's looked at. So what does it mean to be A through G ready? And yeah, your freshman grades actually do matter. And then also an exposure to our 10th through 12th grade cores. So many times our kiddos will show up to Windsor High School and they pick a core because their friend is in that core or because their sibling was in that core, but there's not really an attachment for them, right? They're just picking something. And then that inevitably leads them to picking their 11th, 12th grade core, which might not be their passion. So built into this freshman seminar class, we're going to bring these kiddos into the different cores. Like, let's go to Build Core and see what they're doing. Let's go into Nueva, see what they're doing. And let's really be hands-on with what we offer at our school so that when that spring rolls around and they are picking that core that they're going to then join for the next 3 years, they're doing it with a knowledge of what they're going into. Like, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I'm excited about. Bless you. There's also Counselor on the Move is going to be something that freshman seminar is going to host. And so our counselors are going to pop into these different classes and they're going to share all those things that our kids need to know. So like an academic plan, what do your 4 years at high school need to look like? And how do you need to stay on track to meet those goals? Are you good? Okay.
This is a candy exchange.
Got it.
And I'm really the middleman.
Got it.
We are listening. I am sorry.
That's okay.
I think we're a little cold too. I don't know about the temperature, but it's chilly.
And I'm
sorry.
That's
Sorry.
okay. That's
Sorry.
okay.
Go, continue.
So another component, right, that those social emotional tools. So our students, they can come in and they can be very academically rigorous, but do they know how to manage the stress that maybe comes with that? Do they know how to manage what it means to be at a high school? And that's part of what we're going to be offering in this class. So, self-advocacy skills, like going up to your teacher and asking for help or how to write an email, all of those different things that you don't maybe learn until it's too late, right? We want our freshmen to have that and to be equipped with that. And then just some things like, LinkedIn profiles. What does that look like? How can that be useful later on in life? Public speaking. I used to despise public speaking and here I am. I should have had a freshman seminar class. And then also CTE pathway introduction. So we already have some industry partners that are coming in to speak at this class, some different offsite experiences where kids can really get immersed in these different pathways that we offer, and just to really give them an opportunity to make a decision about where they want to go next. So stakeholder support, the LCAP committee survey, 99% of our members felt like freshman seminar was somewhat important or very important. So I think that's a key takeaway there. It's been a really collaborative effort. I have a 9th grade planning committee. We meet, I would say once or twice a month, and we really just look at what is it that our freshmen need and what are the tiny components that we need to make sure that we include in this class. A lot of the teachers that are on that committee actually went out into their classes to their current ninth graders, and they said, like, hey, what could you have benefited from if we had this class? And it was really insightful, and it's a lot of the stuff that we've already embedded in here. Like the biggest one is time management and how to handle social media on their phones, right? Because they get lost in scrolling for hours and hours. And then also from the teachers, right? When ninth grade was pulled out of the cores, one of their big questions was, okay, so how are we going to make these kiddos feel part of a community? And so freshman seminar was an answer to that. So some of our expected outcomes, if we go back, right, 45% of our ninth graders were off A through G track at Mark 1. That's going to change, right? It will not be 45% again, because this is a person who every other day is going to see this kid, is going to look in Jupiter and is going to have that one-on-one connection with them. Hey, what's happening in math? Why are you missing it so much? What's happening in English? I talked to your English teacher. I know what you guys are working on. We're reading that book right now for silent reading, right? Like they don't get to go unseen anymore. We will be seeing them all. Increased engagement. So if we think about youth truth, which I know I'm talking about a little bit later, but overall, in our kind of our focus area, so my teachers' expectations make me want to do my best. Right now we're at a 3.43 and our freshmen are at a 3.37. That number is going to go up, right? Because they have a community that they're a part of and that they can lean on and that they know that they're supported. And then also just improving our readiness overall. So having our kiddos pick a core that they know truly means something to them, and then finding those students that have those common interests and spending the rest of their, high school career with them will just be huge. So that's freshman seminar for you. Questions?
Did you come up with this? Don't be shy.
Ish.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, this is genius.
Thank you.
This has been needed for a long time. I called my son and asked him for permission to actually talk about this a little bit. My middle boy, Jim, he had a hard time going from the middle school where you're in one class and you got your little core, little group of everybody in your little protected environment. And all of a sudden, boom, you're in the high school and you have core, which is kind of really, it's a college level idea shoved down to freshmen who all have varying degrees of maturity. And in our house, we have to have a certain GPA to do anything. And his freshman year, he didn't hit that. Then his sophomore, and I didn't let him participate. I didn't let him use his waiver to do anything. And it bugged me because one, we could have used his skills on the mat and other things, but I had to set, I had to hold to it, right? And he had some learning challenges as well that he was also dealing with. But then his sophomore, junior, and senior year never needed the waiver. He was in the mid threes in his grades. But when we talked about it before, he said, I wasn't ready to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever on a career core path. I just wanted to go to school and learn something, whatever the something was. And I think, and I've noticed over the years, many kids will pick a core and then they're switching out a year later. Sometimes they're switching a core once or twice. Mm-hmm. So this is, I mean, the word is genius. Thank you for having a different set of eyes and looking at this. I think this is going to help Brian in your quest also, all of our quest for our math scores and stuff to get better, that we're going to have. This is just awesome. And again, what an awesome team we got here in Windsor Unified School District. And I think this is going to be a grand slam for so many kids that are going to stay up where they should be, claw back to where they could be, and then really thrive in their sophomore, junior, and senior years. I think that we're going to have dividends that are going to pay huge from this shift in our program. So thank you. And all the other team members that help contribute. But thanks for showing the initiative and taking this leap.
It takes guts to lead and do something new.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I have an 8th grader going into freshman year next year. So it's very exciting that he'll have the opportunity to be part of this freshman seminar. You know, sometimes we work on things that are going to come around kind of after our kids have left. And I know, you know, you're kind of thinking about your grandkids and your kids have grown up. Yours have, you know, grown up in the district. So sometimes we're like looking down the road past like immediately impacting our children. So it's exciting that my son will be able to, you know, benefit from this great idea. And I think it is very personalized and kind of reminiscent of like a private school experience, which I think is really cool that we're able to make it work and offer it, because I think it'll just provide that individualized attention. So thank you for the genius idea.
Yeah, I like meeting the kids where they are and having this deliberate effort. I was thinking when you were talking, I've been doing this for 10 or 11 years. Kind of the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And, you know, you had to break some sacred chalices when we told people years ago, you know, we're just going to consolidate Windsor Creek, and you would have thought the earth was going to split. Blood would fall from the sky. It just had never been done that way. And so I think busting the paradigm, and I'll tell you, I think a reason it works is the two amigas that were sitting out there for the first 2 hours of the meeting. When you and the middle school principal are literally friends and joined at the hip, and we have 7 years of continuity, right? And you have it somewhat with Lydia, with her middle school students. This bodes real well to recognize, to say, you know, when you're a 14, 15-year-old showing it up at high school, you're in the big leagues, and you just came from being a senior in 8th grade. You got the big fish in your small pond. So thank you for this. And thank you. I know there was some doctrinaire old guard at the high school that needed to either be convinced or learn to be quiet, because perhaps this might produce better results. Either way, we're doing it. And so thank you for that. And thank you for everybody over here too. I think it's, you know, it's a bold new experiment, well-grounded in facts. And, you know, I like when you're up here with your intercollegiate athletic voice saying 3.37, that's going to improve next year, right? Thank you. We deal with metrics and we'll hold you to that. And I think that these kids are going to go through the roof. You know, the proof in the pudding, I think, comes by the time they're 12th graders in the class of whatever that is, 2028 and whatever. Scary to even say out loud. But yeah, it makes a difference in the lives of probably more than 500 ninth graders by the time you have them all. So thanks so much.
You know, just one follow-up. Bill, you've asked the question over the years. If we do this, what's it cost? And then if we give you another $10,000 or another amount, a unit of money, how much can we expect our whatever outcome to increase by, right? And this change is costing us money, right?
Yes.
You answered the question before without really the definition of it, but you said, here's our baseline and we will never be there again. And so when you think of our budget, what it is and the $100,000+ that this is going to cost us, right?
Yeah. So when we started this conversation, it wasn't going to cost, because the class side, the freshman class was not 488 students. And so we were like, yeah, Danielle, this sounds great. Let's do it. And then as we started growing, said, oh boy, this is going to require us to add an FTE. So we had some real serious conversations around this class. And ultimately, we all believe in this, and we believe in Danielle, frankly. So this is costing us one FTE, which is roughly $120,000. But it's an investment, and I think, you know, all the good things that she said.
And if you cost it out over the number of students we gained, right, isn't it kind of
yes,
absorbed in there
100%,
anyway?
absolutely.
Well,
So-
it's a bit of a misnomer to say it costs. It's an
Right.
elective.
Yeah.
And so it will generate 10 credits. And so, you know, as the students need to generate close to 70 credits of electives, this will be 10 of them. And so, you know, if they're finishing high school with 220 credits, it won't actually cost us more money, but it can definitely save us more money if we're not having to pay such a large amount of money in summer school every year to recoup credits.
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
and that, but the dividend of the kids learning and not falling so far behind. I mean, look, I've told you guys before, I had struggles with math for whatever reason, right? I knew I was pretty smart, but I was struggling with math. And when you're a kid and your other peers are succeeding and you're not in a certain area, it does mess with your self-esteem. And so this program, I just see nothing but blue sky rewards in every area. We have, what was it, it was 45%, was that the number you said that we're having at the first grading period, we're having 45% Ds and Es. That's half. Just call it half. That's how good I was at math. I'm gonna call it half, right? When you take our student population and you take half of the kids that are now feeling a little inadequate, not doing so good, and now all of a sudden we cut that number in half. Now it's, I mean, that's still too many, but we just improved our population's outlook and feelings of, are you feeling connected? Well, man, if you're failing, no, you're not feeling connected, right? So they're succeeding now. The dividends in our society in that school is just going to be hugely improved. So does it cost us anything? No, it's costing us not to do it. And so,
Right.
so thank you.
And is there a way that we could get kind of reports in kind of earlier in the year, like on grade, like after the first grading period? Could we?
This will be part of our scorecard.
Hey, yeah. Okay, so maybe that's coming up in the next
Major
presentation.
strategy.
So are there any other questions on this item? I think we'll go out to public comment. And I think are we approving? I think
You
we
want
are.
a new course? Yes. So I make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Congrats. All right, moving on to item 5.5, discussion of the Windsor High School and Windsor Middle School scorecard report. It's very timely. Brian Williams.
Like it was planned. But you guys can choose who goes first.
Oh, you know, it's kind of funny because you guys don't know this, but we're kind of doing it together.
All right, sounds great.
Oh, yeah. It's a really exciting time to be a first year principal at Windsor. And oh, do I have to repeat that? It's a very exciting time to
They just can't
be
hear
at
you
Windsor.
online if you don't speak in the microphone.
Okay.
That's all.
I'm sorry. So you have two first year principals here, and all of my past experience before coming here was at high school. And then Jeremy talked me into coming to the middle school. So when we look at our scorecards, and the Windsor Middle School is up there first, and we talked about if kids are connected and thriving, and if our staff is connected and thriving. And the first thing that we wanted to do was create a mission statement around that, get ourselves organized. And how are we going to do that? So I don't know if you know, I was going to read our mission statement that our staff came up with at Windsor Middle. We're committed, and it has to do with my partner here, we're committed to engaging all students in a safe, inclusive, and rigorous learning environment, preparing students for success in high school and beyond. So our job at the middle school is to get these guys where they need to be and to make up some of these deficits. And while they're at the middle school, that they do feel like they're connected and thriving. And one of the things, our biggest strategy to help with that is creating a new bell schedule. We created a schedule where the 7th and 8th graders are going to get 2 electives next year. So when Elizabeth was up here talking about art, I'm really proud to say we're adding an honors art class, an art class. We have digital media. We're going to have a computer science class. And those are just additions to our theater. We're able to add a beginning band to 7th and 8th, because if they don't take it now in 6th grade, they miss out. So all the kids that are in an intervention or special ed or ELD are still being able to have the opportunity to have an elective. So are students going to be connected and thriving? Absolutely. And that's one of the ways we're going to move our mark. We're really proud that 99% of our staff took the survey, and we moved the mark there and where they felt their schools being managed effectively. So as a first year principal, kind of fumbling my way through this year, I was really happy to see those numbers move, as well as our strong community and school relationships, having a lot of fun with all of our stakeholders. And as far as our RINSTAR and our test scores, we're moving, right? We're on the right path. If you look at math, our CASP, we're projected at 30. We were at 28. So we're moving not close to our goal. In reading, we're moving. At CASP, we were at 43. Our goal was 60. And I appreciate you. It's kind of apples and oranges, right? We had our CASP and that we were working on our goal around that, but we were using RINSTAR for this year's students. So CASP is last year's students. RINSTAR is this year's students. So Brian made the shift and changed our goals. I don't know if you guys explained it last time, but now we're comparing this year's students. Our baseline was our first window and moving and really getting real data with that. So then Danielle and I were thinking, okay, what can we do together and collaborate and help the middle school kids be prepared for high school? And how are we making sure that we are producing kids that are ready in 7th, 8th, and then when they get into 9th grade? So we had our teachers look at all of their essential standards and break down what they think is the most important essential standards to hit with these kids that we have to make sure they're at grade level or above and they're prepared for the next grade level. Do you want to speak to yours? Or do you want me to keep going?
No. I mean,
okay,
you're on a roll.
Okay, then. So, all right. So we had our grade level teams look at that, and we're currently doing that. And then they were struggling through, okay, well, we have our essential standards, but we live in our little Windsor Middle School bubble. And we really needed to break out of that bubble. And we needed to look at what's a successful 9th grader look like. And from what can we do at the middle school to make sure, and I love the freshman seminar, I think it's awesome, but we got to give her a better product. You know, we need to do a better job and we need to increase the readiness of our 8th graders when they get there. But we need to do that together. You know, we can't create what that looks like. So we decided to collaborate and work on it. And you want to talk about the PD?
Oh, sure. Okay, there we go. So when we were looking at our scorecards kind of before coming into tonight, if you just want to jump to mine super quick, because I just want to look at thank you. Oh, click. Reading went up for us 1% and math went down 1%. And like we're talking about, we're brand new principals, right? We're figuring this all out. And RenStar, math and reading are now one of our measures that matter. But how does that matter and how are the teachers accessing it and what does that look like to them on a day-to-day basis? And so if we think about RenStar and reading and math, they really drill down on standards, right? They drill down on skills and standards that we can then hone in on. But if we don't have common agreements and common understandings of what those standards are, then really these measures don't matter because we can't look at them across the middle school and the high school. So what we decided to do for our last PD day is get our teachers together by departments. And we gathered them all together in the library at the high school. And we told them, your department is no longer, 7th through 8th and then 9th through 12th. Your departments are now 7 through 12. And these are the people that you're going to be working with to make sure that our kiddos are ready by the time they graduate. So we broke them out by departments, math, English, history. We asked the middle school to bring the standards that they had already really worked on, to share those with the high school standards. And they spent 2 hours really just talking it out. And it was awesome, like going into those classrooms and listening to the conversations that they were having. And one of my teachers afterwards, I was asking for feedback and she said, can we please do this again and again and again, because there was a lot of value for them in having those common understandings of what's coming up from the middle school. And then for those middle school teachers to say, okay, I know where my kids are going now. Like I know what I have to get them ready for. So when we think about RenStar or reading and math, right, those are going to matter once we have those common agreements around standards, because now teachers can then pull up those reports and see, okay, what were they struggling with in 7th grade? What were they struggling with in 8th grade? How is that going to impact them in 9th grade and so on? You want to add?
Yeah, well, I think, and also just being, a middle school, we also expanded down to Brooks. So our 6th grade team we welcomed our 5th grade team to the middle school on the same day. We were running around like crazy people. And our 6th graders, our 6th grade teachers were able to vertically align with our 5th grade. So now what we're hoping to do is that we are really fleshing out the essential standards that kids need to be successful. And if our teachers are all on the same page, and then we can get that momentum, then we can figure out what are the targeted interventions that we need and how can we help these kids. But we can do it in a line where that we are getting kids at the high school when they're freshman year, they're walking in and they're ready to go. I mean, as a middle school principal, I'd love to get rid of our freshman seminar, right? Like, no, I got it, we're good. But until we get there, I'm super happy that we can flow kids into that and just keep improving our scores. Are you guys curious about what we did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you
Tell
got
us
for
more.
us?
Yeah. Tell you more.
Yeah, tell us about or I mean, you said I'd be curious
Yeah,
about what
yeah,
you did.
just
I thought
if
you
you had
were
any questions
asking
for
us
us.
to ask you for more.
Well, you know, it was, okay, the biggest, our teachers were a little nervous at first from the middle school, you know, like, we're not doing a good enough job, you know?
Yeah, they had to go to the grown-up table over at the high school.
Yeah, the big kids. But you know what? The high school, they were so gracious and so kind, and it really wasn't anybody's fault. The cool thing is, it's like, and they said this hadn't happened in how many years? Never.
Well, I'm sorry, that's the part that's amazing to me. I can remember when I got on the board, we had different math and English curriculum as the various school islands as the poor kids went through. And it's like, no wonder they couldn't read and write, because they got a different methodology when they got to 5th grade or 7th grade or 9th grade. So to these folks over here and to you two to implement it, have the teachers over the vertical articulation in the various phases as the students go through, because that's our product. Have them talk to each other. Go figure, right? And you, as the two walking examples of that, you carry the message that this is what we're going to do. And so that, you know, leadership by example is important. But, you know, this is sort of like the freshman seminar impact. Like, hey, let's maybe get everybody sitting down together. And what don't the high school, you know, what do those 9th grade English and math teachers not know? They're saying, I don't know what they're doing over there on Brooks Road, but good God. You know, they must be taking every other day off or have a bad bell scale or something. You know, it's them over there who are distinct from this continuum of our professional community who have the blessing to inherit these waves of children every year. And for that, thank you. You know, let us know how we can help you. I am struck that reading goes up in the high school and math goes down. And I don't know why that might be, but again, not for necessarily right now, but both from the Ren Star and the CAS scores. But you know, things that, you know, we'll watch these. These are very helpful because now as we roll into another year, there's some baseline. And I know there was a Ren Star CAS transition thing, but yeah.
Yeah, thanks for making it happen. And
Yeah.
I mean, we have to start doing things differently, and you're starting to do things differently to try to get different results. So appreciate it. And Meadow, go ahead.
I have a few things. Okay. So I have like a couple questions and a couple comments. First off, props to both of you. Mrs. West, you were thrown into a lot. You had your mismatched bell schedules, your students in all different spots. And I just want to give you a shout out because this is amazing. So not only did you meet your students where they were and want them to improve just to get them where they need to be, you are getting them to where they need to go. And I think that is amazing. And Ms. Buckman or Danielle, sorry. You're awesome. I don't even go to your school, and every event that I see you at, you make sure I feel welcome. Every student is safe. Every staff feels welcome there. You make sure it goes smooth. And even if you're running around and you don't even get to feel smooth, you make sure that everything is okay. And this, your freshman seminar, you working with Ms. West, this is amazing. So just want to give you guys a good shout out.
Thank you.
And then I do have just like, I'm curious, what was the most difficult thing that you found to like bridge throughout this? Like what is going to be the hardest hurdle to jump in doing this?
Hardest thing, I think, the hardest thing was to make sure that our teachers felt safe. And because teaching is their passion, and respecting that we're telling, you know, hey, we're going to, going through the PLC process where we're going to come together and figure out the best way, instructional strategies and standards to teach children. And when we don't teach, if they're not getting it, what are we going to do to reteach? And making sure that teachers feel safe through this process, and that it was a little bit out of their comfort zone to go talk to other teachers about not what they weren't doing anything wrong, but our kids aren't where they need to be. And the high school hosted us, and one of our teachers stepped in to facilitate, but really making that just like we're trying to do with our staff, like let's build relationships, let's build trust in each other, and let's improve our product. And we can do that. So this is kind of like our baseline, you guys. I think where we're at, we're kind of tearing everything down, and then we're going to figure out how we're going to build it and move forward.
There's a term that I think we should be saying, and it's guaranteed and viable. So we're going to create a guaranteed and viable curriculum, and that's what they're working on. And essentially what guaranteed means is every kid is going to get the state standards. Okay, they're going to learn the state standards, and viable means that it's going to be able to happen within a year. So you can't teach every state standard to its full extent in 1 year. It's not possible. So having the vertical articulation is important, because the way the standards work is you have a similar overarching idea and then substandards, and they just build upon each other over the years. So if you pick the same power standards that are kind of, how am I explaining, going through each year, then you can really elaborate on them year over year and get better and better. But if you're all over the place, meaning this standard is picked in 7th grade and this other power standard's here in 8th grade, and then this one over here is in 9th grade, you never build and you don't learn in the proper sequence. So there are certain standards more important than others. So guaranteed and viable is a term that I want you to hear, because it's something we'll be talking a lot about over the next couple of years.
Okay. And then how often are these meetings to do the vertical alignment?
So our next PD day is the 24th of May. And so we're planning that day right now, right? And instead of just taking a couple hours like we had done on the first, we have the whole day together. And then that day will roll into August when we have our next PD day. We have Dr. Cruz coming, who, to really speak to the PLC process. So a lot of the work that we're doing right now is to build the foundation so that when he gets here, it solidifies kind of what we've been talking about with our standards, with our common formative assessments, with the essential skills that our kiddos need, which is what our focus is for the 24th. So now that you have your standards, what do those standards mean in like normal language? Right? So if a kid was to look at that, they knew what their learning target was for the day, and then what are the assessments, what are the assignments, what are the activities, the projects that are going to get students to master that standard and that essential skill. And then how are we going to know that they got it? And that comes with our common formative assessments. But to be able to build those as a team, so there's some commonality between what that looks like from 7th on, will be really huge for our students.
And can I? Yep. And we have a bonus because our Cali friends, they already had their professional development plan, so they couldn't join us that day, but they're going to be joining us in May. So we have Cali, the middle school and the high school. So we're all coming together to make sure that we're on the same page.
That's like a party.
That's synergy. Yeah. That's some synergy going on in our district that will really
come by on the 24th. Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
All you need to do to make that perfect is to have our previous speaker bring some more of her goodies.
This is them. You should know. This was them putting it together, not driven by us.
We knew
So
that.
They need the credit.
Yeah.
Want to make sure. It's
Don't worry,
given.
Jeremy. We know.
I know. You know who we are.
Yeah. They're first year principals, not first year superintendents. So it's
The other thing that I wanted to just ask about is like, we have this scorecard that we're kind of working on as kind of like something that we'll see from meeting to meeting. Is there a way that we could add to that number of D's and F's in core classes probably, or like classes that are kind of significant to graduation or college admission?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So sorry.
I forgot. I'm not the principal.
That's okay. So like 9th grade obviously is going to be a big focus next year because we've made some big changes. So how our students are doing in English, that's definitely going to be part of my scorecard. How are students doing overall when we hit those different grading periods? I've spoke before about kind of creating our own internal youth truth survey, like our pulse checks that we can do to check in on these kiddos and see how they're doing, not just wait until January. So that will also be data that I can share out as we're kind of moving through the year.
Okay. That sounds good. Cause I know like, I'll let you go in just a second, but I think we all are really passionate about just students mastering the curriculum and really, you know, being strong readers, strong writers, strong problem solvers. Like that's the equalizing force that, or like the benefit that we can offer them at the end of the day is like going out and being really strong in their academics. So the more we can see just kind of like snapshots of, and I think we're all cognizant too of like students getting those grades, because half of students getting D's and F's, I think all of us feel a little bit heartbroken by like how that student feels, like getting an F or getting a D. Like that's a big deal for each of those students when that happens. So I think knowing that for our students is helpful for us to just know like, where are we with that?
The only thing I was, and I don't know if we can do this, but so if we have an incoming freshman and if their, that first grading period, let's say they get a D in that class, most people might think, oh man, we're failing. Is there a way to look and see if that student actually, when they left 8th grade, if they were getting an F, and that a D is actually a significant improvement to where if we continue on that path. So we can't look at a D necessarily and say we are failing that kid. That kid might have improved a significant amount from where they were when they first came in. So, you know, so anyhow, you guys understand what I'm saying? So, but I don't know if in our scorecard, if there's a way to say, hey, here's this class and here's where they are, but here's where they were.
Danielle did quite a bit of that work with her pre-math 1 course of being able to evaluate their status in 8th grade, their performance in pre-math 1 and their performance in math 1. So it would just be the same thing as applying it to the other core classes.
Yeah, I just think that might be interesting to see because improvement's what we're looking for, right? And so again, we might go, oh man, we had 30% of our kids got D's. Well, that's 30% might all had F's. So that's something to cheer and be grateful for because now we're continuing to improve.
Right.
So
And then look at, you know, did they make that growth in their grade and how is their attendance improved since they were in middle school? So or their behavior, right? All of those are metrics to the success of what we're doing. It's not just the grades, right? It's beyond that.
Thanks.
Cool. Thank you. I don't think we have any public comment.
I had one more comment.
Meadow, go for it.
The way you track the grades this year with like seeing the 45%, would it be possible to continue tracking that this year and then compare them and see like where they are as sophomores next year and like see what impact the program had versus not having the program?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
That was all. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's just okay, now we're moving on to 5.6. Thank you very much. Textbook adoption for Windsor Middle School Social Studies, Brian Williams.
So yeah, we are requesting, can't vote without him. Okay, we're requesting that you approve the purchase of our next series of social studies. The original social studies that the middle school has been using is so old, it could be considered a primary source. No,
It's actually the subject of what's going to be studied in the new textbook.
Yes.
Got it.
So the middle school went through a couple of different pilots, and what they found to be the most useful was adopting the newest version of their current adoption, which is the TCI. They're very familiar with how the curriculum works, but this just has all the new updated bells and whistles with the electronic access and everything that goes along with that.
Awesome. Any questions? I don't have any.
Do we need a motion on this or?
Any public comment before we do that? Seeing none, go for it, Rich.
To make a motion that we approve this?
I'll second.
Go ahead.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Moving on to 5.7. This is declaration of need fully qualified educators for the 2024-2025 school year. Pete Sullivan,
Hello again.
tell us more.
All right. So this is an annual notification. And we ask the CTC annually if we can hire teachers who are not fully credentialed, under-credentialed, and serve them with either waivers or permits of some sort in order to staff properly. And so every year we estimate roughly the number of waivers that we'll need in the specific areas. Typically speaking, we're looking at 2 to 4 waivers in special education, although this year we're looking really good. Our interviews have had a lot of credentialed people this year. Although we still have holdovers from last year because we're running 8 or 9 permits through. I am supporting teachers coming through this year into next year still on permits, so I still have to serve those people, which are part of those numbers. And then science and math, which are typically hard to staff because credentialed people are hard to find in those areas. And then especially our B-clad and clad, those are very hard to find right now. Although, again, Lydia has done a lot of interviews already this year, and we think we are hopefully going to exit the hiring season with just a couple more waivers on top of what we currently have. And so this is just, I'm asking for approval of our estimates to send off to the CTC for approval so we can then write waivers for the existing folks and folks that we will have coming into the district who are under-credentialed this year.
Thank you.
Is this list larger or smaller than the list we had over the last few years?
I bumped it up this year only for B-clad.
Okay.
And it's more recognition of the fact that I'm carrying over the permits, less of what I'm actually seeing at the tables in our interviews.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Any more questions, public comment? And if none, motions?
I'll move we approve the certificate of need.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good job. Good.
Okay, there we go.
That was done.
I'm not sure what's going on, but we'll move on to item 5.8, which is our public hearing for sufficiency of instructional materials. I just want to make sure our last items were not a resolution. Okay, they're not, but this one is. So this is being presented by Brian Williams. Go ahead.
So my foolproof plan of taking all of the resolutions from last year's board agenda items and then scheduling from this year was foiled by the fact that this was done in April of last year and it should have been done in probably September of October of last year. So you'll be getting this in September or October of next year to tell you that all of our students have their materials. So I've checked every single one of them of almost 5,000 students, and they all have their materials. So this resolution for you, and do they have to read it? Okay.
Okay.
So we have to make a motion.
So I don't think we have any questions. I will just ask if there's public comment and no discussion so we can do a roll call. Oh,
I'll make a
motion.
motion that we approve this resolution.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, so roll call. Trustee Carnation?
Yes.
Trustee Adams?
Yes.
Trustee Ahmad?
Yes.
Meadow Graves?
Yes.
And Trustee Cogorno and Trustee Lopez are absent. I don't have to say that anymore, do I?
Okay. And that's just to open the public hearing or that.
Nope, that's a
No.
resolution.
Actually, let's look at that. So usually on a public hearing, you're going to open it. We wouldn't have done the roll call yet. You open it, you then see if there's public comment, and then you shut it down, and then we would approve. Yeah,
Okay. So we opened up the hearing.
let's open it up now.
Okay.
Do you want to come up? So let's make sure that we shut it down a minute after we've opened it, because you got to have the minutes in
Okay.
there.
Stand up for a minute and shut your
No,
legs.
no, we can just say it's a minute.
Wait, but I got a story.
You know what? I like to follow the rules.
Okay.
I have a story that can go for a minute.
I'm sure you do.
Interpretive dance.
All right, we're opening up at 9:03.
stick with our last motions, which I believe Rich made the motion, Bill seconded, and we're going to do a new roll call vote now that we've closed our hearing.
Thank you. Trustee Carnation.
Yes.
Trustee Adams. Yes. Trustee Ahmad.
Yes.
Meadow Graves.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, great. We are moving on to 5.9. So this is,
8.
well, it's the new
Oh, got it.
5.9.
5.9, you got it.
So reading of resolution 2024-24 declaring May 7th, 2024 as the day of the teacher. This item will be presented by Jeremy Decker, and maybe we'll want to read this.
If you,
At
would you
the
like to
pleasure of
read
the
it, or
board.
would you like for me to read the therefore be it resolved? What would you prefer, guys?
I think you can read therefore it be it resolved. I'm not sure that anyone is watching
I
at
think
this
so too.
point.
So I think obviously that we're declaring the day for our teachers. And I'm going to say we're going to resolve that the Windsor Unified School District Board of Education join the governor and the state legislature in declaring May 7th, 2024 annual day of the teacher, and that the Windsor Unified School District encourages activities to recognize and honor Windsor Unified School District teachers on this day.
Wonderful.
Would you like to make the motion?
Bill Adams?
Well, Meadow's going to make the motion about.
Meadow's making the motion.
To approve the resolution.
24.
I'll make the motion to approve motion 2424.
Okay.
I'll second. And then we have no public comments, so we'll go ahead and take a roll call vote.
Trustee Carnation?
Yes.
Trustee Adams? Yes. Trustee Ahmad?
Yes?
Meadow Graves?
Yes.
Well done.
Okay, moving on to item 5.10, another resolution, 2024-25, declaring May 19th to 25th, 2024 as Classified Staff Appreciation Week.
So again, I'll read the now therefore be it resolved that the Windsor Unified School District Board of Education and Superintendent of Schools do hereby honor the contributions of classified school employees to quality education in Windsor Unified School District and recognize the week of May 19th to the 25th in 2024 as Classified School Employee Week, an opportunity to pay homage to these valued members of Windsor Unified's educational teams.
Great. Do we have a motion?
I'll just say that's what I meant when I was recognizing Veronica, the custodian, and all the food service workers. Was this, we're paying homage.
Yes.
I'll move to approve resolution 2425.
I'll second.
And no public comment. Quick question. Are we doing anything as a district?
We will.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll discuss that later. Okay. And then
Just so you guys know, we almost always do these after the fact.
Right.
We do something and then we do these after the fact. And Jen was on it this year and got them done on time.
Great. And I've forgotten if we had motions on this item.
We just
So
did,
me.
yes.
Okay, then roll call vote,
That was
please.
me and Meadow.
Yes.
Okay.
Trustee Carnation?
Yes.
Trustee Adams?
Yes.
Trustee Ahmad?
Yes.
Meadow Graves?
Yes.
Okay, we have reached our last action item of the night, 5.11, consideration of approval of resolution 2024-26, the CDSS application to allow the enrollment of 3-year-old children into the Cali-Comecca Language Academy preschool classrooms currently under construction. Hello.
Hi. So,
Hi, Jessica.
I don't know if you guys remember, we submitted the application for Maddie's preschool to be licensed in December. So I'm just coming back to approve the application process for Callie's preschool. We're going to be building out of the TK quad. 2 of those classrooms are going to be state preschool classrooms. And we'll serve about 48 students on Callie's campus. And becoming licensed allows us to serve our 3-year-olds in those classrooms. And the state's definition of a 3-year-old is anyone who turns 4 after December 2nd. So we're just serving slightly younger than what we're currently serving now as an unlicensed program. But the state preschool's requirements are if we're serving children who have a birthday after December 2nd, it has to be in a licensed classroom. So I did bring you guys a couple of statistics. Currently, we have about 96 families that have requested preschool enrollment for next school year. So I'm right at being able to serve 48 students on both campus. I've got a couple of families that dual enrolled in both Callie and Maddie. But the majority of those enrollment requests were at Callie. About 60 of them are at Callie. And some of those families have requested to come over to Maddie, even if they don't get into Callie. So I have full confidence we will be able to meet our goal of 48 students in all of those classes before school starts.
Jessica, I don't know if we covered this, but for the Cali facility, is there any, and I don't even know if you know this when we get 3 and 4 year olds, in evaluating those students on their readiness or meeting some of the criteria to ultimately join the Cali community from the dual immersion, or are, if they're affiliated through siblings that are there, is that a criteria at all for the Cali program?
So we're trying to use the same classroom model in the preschool that we use in Cali, on Cali's campus. So you have a third of your students monolingual English, a third monolingual Spanish, and a third that are bilingual in enrollment. And then we're assessing all of the students at the end of their preschool year and seeing if where they fall into the following year's TK numbers. So, if we did our job correctly, a lot of those kids will, the monolingual English ones will transfer over to being, on the Spanish side of the TK classroom models, or the bilingual side of the TK classroom models, which is a really great goal, because right now we're having a really hard time finding families that are monolingual in Spanish, or the bilingual, truly bilingual students in those TK classrooms. So it's skewing our model when we get into TK and kinder. So if we do a good job in preschool, then we're going to have a better model in TK kinder.
Thank you for explaining that.
I love that you're basically creating the Spanish speakers. Like
We're doing our best.
Yeah, because when Cali started, or that program started, it was really to serve a migrant community, right? And now we just have less of that type of community here, native Spanish speakers. And so now, but it is very important to speak more than one language, and we recognize that. So I love that we're kind of going a little bit younger and creating native speakers, and then, being able to continue the model. It's great. Any other comments from the board? Public comment, don't see any motions, please. I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
You gotta,
It's a resolution, so roll call, please.
Trustee Carnation? Yes. Trustee Adams?
Yes.
Trustee Ahmad?
Yes.
Meadow Graves?
Yes.
Thank you very much. 6.1 future board items. I don't know that we have any comments on that.
No, just know I'm messing with the governance calendar, so it'll be updated for next year. We're just trying to get everything in order, especially with the scorecards and kind of the cadence that we present to you guys. So I'll bring something new probably in June.
And you said Allison's going to be back for next meeting.
I believe Alice is back in May, correct?
2 meetings.
She's gone for May as well, so she's back in June. Is that right? Okay, well,
Okay.
then I
So
think we're
then
looking
it'll
at
be
June.
June.
That's
Okay.
when we'll do the interdistrict. Yep.
Okay, great. Then meeting adjournment. I'll move to adjourn.
12.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
All
you. Good meeting,
done.
team.
Thank you, everyone.
It's a